Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with another round of the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship Season 8 as powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. And today it is round number 6 of 10 in the championship and the twists and turns keep on coming. For we've made our way from Germany and from the absolutely incredible round of racing last week that was at the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke, or the Nürburgring combined, the longest circuit on our calendar, all the way to Scotland in the United Kingdom for our shortest circuit on the calendar. It can be one and only circuit. It's the only FIA-approved circuit in Scotland, and it is none other than Knockhill Racing Circuit. Spanning 1.26 miles and located just 6 miles away from the city of Dunfermline in the lowlands of Scotland, it is a circuit that is synonymous with British Touring Car Championship and indeed a variety of racing disciplines. Whether it be Formula Fords all the way through to club racing or track days, it is a circuit that's much loved and much enjoyed by spectators and drivers alike. And its core is a rather straightforward layout, or at least it would seem on paper. 9 corners, some hairpins, a chicane, and also some sweeping corners. But entwined in all of that, a number of very aggressive elevation changes. Arguably, this is one of the hardest corners and indeed one of the hardest circuits to master, given the fact the majority of the corners feature elevation changes which are either sudden or slight, but either way they lead to blind apexes. Therefore, as you roll your way around the rather short circuit, it's just as much about faith and commitment and knowing that the corner is there and knowing where the racing line will be when you exit the corner, because you won't be able to see it until you clear the corner apex, but by then you're fully committed and locked into taking the speed and the approach through the corner. Get it right and you may just come away with victory. Get it wrong, however, and you may find yourself very quickly going off into the gravel and off into the distance. Find that when you rejoin, you've lost all the places you've covered since the start of the race. Here, full commitment will be demanded from our drivers, nothing less, as we get ready to go racing once again. And as we welcome you all to this broadcast live from circuit side, we say hello to you guys and girls tuning in via one of the free media platforms available tonight. Firstly, you can tune in via YouTube, and that being at youtube.com, search for NXTGEN Racing, and well, welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via the NXTGEN Racing YouTube channel, including there none other than what is Mike Bar 2011. But if you're not tuning in via YouTube, you could be tuning in via Facebook at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. And last but not least, we have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch, including there none other than MVM Sophia99, and good evening to you all regardless of where you're tuning in from, and I hope you've had a great start to your week, and if you haven't, some touring car racing will definitely be setting your evening on fire. But speaking of your evening ahead, let's take you through your schedule. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, also known as Universal Coordinate Time at UTC. And as we can see, well, in what will be just under 17 minutes time, we're going into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration, all the drivers out of the circuit, and we do have the best part of 40 drivers, if not more, in fact almost at 45 drivers down in attendance today. It is going to be a very crowded circuit. If you do the quick mathematics, 1.26 miles split between the 45 drivers, well, there's going to be very little room for error. After that, we're making our way to the grid for our first of our 3 races tonight, all within 22 laps in duration. Race number 1, we're getting underway at 8:15 this evening, after which we'll be taking a brief breather before returning to the build-up to race number 2, and that'll be at 9 o'clock this evening. After that, we'll take another quick breather, but not without our reverse grid draw for the all-important race number 3. Now we're looking to get underway at just after what we call to 10 this evening. So 3 incredible races on the cards for today, and all the races actually brought to you live from circuit side by none other than myself in the commentary booth. And for the uninitiated, my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. But enough about me, let's come onto our calendar so far and what we've still got lying in wait. So as we can see, we're now firmly into the second half of the season. Last time on the 7th of January, we resumed all the racing action with a bang in 2025 to kick off an all-new year of racing at the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke in Germany. Prior to that, the first, 4 rounds of the season saw us make our way from Italy to Canada to Portugal and back to Italy, taking on Misano, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Algarve circuit, also known as Portimao, and also the Monza circuit in Italy with a Temple of Speed then round number 4. But coming from the Nürburgring last time, we're now here today in Scotland at the Knockhill Racing Circuit, for it is the 14th of of January. After today, we've still got 4 more rounds to go, and in a week's time in round number 7, we're making our way back to Canada for the second and final time this season. On the 21st of January, it'll be none other than the Circuit Jules Villeneuve, the Montreal Hybrid Street Circuit, which will be playing host to our drivers as they roar their way around the Park of Notre Dame. But as our drivers get set to take on that circuit, they'll also have to keep in mind that a week after that, we'll be making their way back to the United Kingdom for a second and final visit to the UK for this season. On the 28th of January, it'll be the Thruxton Circuit that welcomes our drivers for its first ever time on the NXTCC calendar, and having only recently been added to the iRacing Simulator service, the UK's fastest circuit is definitely one not to be missed. Then, for the penultimate round, we'll be making our way to Australia, and that's where we'll remain for the rest of the season, with round number 9 on the 4th of February, seeing our drivers take on the home of horsepower, that is the Sandown International Motor Raceway, and after that, our drivers will be making their way to the town of Bathurst for the one and only Mount Panorama Circuit on the 11th of February, which will be the second of our feature race special rounds, and that's where we'll be bringing the curtain down as we wrap up the championship campaign, and who will be pronounced King of the Mountain, and with it could they also become the King of the Touring Car for Season 8. Well, all that and more is still to be discovered. We've still got plenty of mileage left in our journey, and let's give you a recap of the championship standings after what has been 5 rounds of racing. For as we can see, looking at the overall Drivers' Championship first and foremost, Jaroslaw Cebula now leads. He returns to the top after an incredible day of racing at the Nürburgring last time out, absolutely dominant in the feature race, winning by the best part of over a minute and a half, and well, he leads the way by 16 points over Mikey Doble. It looks as though it's going back and forth between the two, between the driver who's looking to take his first ever title, the former Cebula, versus the 3-time champion of Mikey Doble, who's looking to make it 4. Meanwhile, in the hunt for the rest of the field, it's Adam Delmont in P3 on 488 points, 10 ahead of Jamie Dory. And could this be a sign that we're seeing the top 2 starting to break away and make it a 2-horse race for the remainder of the season? Well, Adam Delmont in particular would love to say the opposite, given the fact he's been denied many a title, particularly coming close in what Season 6 and Season 7, and he'll be looking to try and close the delta to the top 2 today. And Jamie Dory will not be too far behind him and looking to chase down that 3rd title, a 2-time champion, and Andrew Pike, who holds on to P5 currently on 451 points. Well, could he be the bit of the black sheep in the group, and could he be the one to bring some surprises when it comes to the fact that right now he seems to be in the ascendancy? Outside the top 5, 50 points behind the top 5 is Nick Clemens, the leading Prime driver, who really seems to be going on strong. In fact, the leading Pro driver there outside of the top 5. In fact, he was moved up from the Prime class to the Pro class earlier on in the season. We apologise for the slight incorrectness classification there. And after that, we do have William Guthrie in P7, who's fallen off the pace in recent rounds, albeit a few incidents have blighted him. But then again, he could be coming back strong as time goes on. And let's not forget, of course, that 1-2 for Full Tilt Motorsport in the sprint race at the Nürburgring, which saw him pick up a good haul of points. Benjamin McCluskey sits in P8 on 338 points, ahead of Lee Horn on 352. And it's Ben Altrier, the teammate to William Guthrie, who wraps up the top 10. Dan Mould, BMI's best to SP11. It's been a frustrating at midpoint of the season so far, and hopefully those frustrations will not continue today for the SL and NXTGEN Gold driver, because if those frustrations do, he may find himself slipping a bit further back into the bottom end of the top 15. And waiting him there will be Daniel Downing, the leading Prime driver in the overall championship first and foremost on 308 points. We'll also see Stuart Wyniss there, the Scottish driver. They're racing on home territory today on 289 ahead of Gavin Gardner, with Isaac Doble wrapping up the top 15. Only the best part of 9 points behind Isaac Doble is Sam Van Olst, who's ahead of Reece Watt by 3 points. And it's Alex Meredith, Ben Gregory and Matthew Sheraton to complete your top 20. Outside the top 20, let's not forget Tom Davidson, P21, the Prime driver there on 237 points, ahead of Toby Prosser by the best part of 27. And it's Alan McCain, Russell Fowler and Michael Lees to complete your top 25. And we'll try and grab a word with Michael Lees before we go racing today, given his heroics at the Nürburgring, having to come through the field in both races to pick up great results in the Prime class. And there we can see Kieran Smart in P26, the Prime driver there, much like his teammate Stuart Wyniss, racing on home soil for Track Scotland, and he'll be looking to try and land an absolutely Goliath result today. Your top 30 is completed by Wayne Douglas, Sam Smith, Joe Doble and Lewis Delmont. And outside the top 30, P31 is Sam Bradley, the Prime driver, much like some of his contemporaries, including Matt Emmons, who you can see there P35, struggling so far this season to try and find some consistency, and he'll be hoping that he can have a bit of a safer day today. Between Bradley and Emmons, none other than Duncan Moraes, Andy Fox and Jake Pitt, with the two Goldwing Motorsports drivers of Moraes and Fox both having difficult times at the Nürburgring last time out, particularly for Andy Fox, involved in 2 lap pad altercations in both the sprint and the feature race, and therefore he'll be hoping that he's not going to be involved in any altercations when he kicks off his racing today. And outside the top 35 from Emmons on 89 points is a single point to Jack Osborne, with Marcel Fritsch the leading AM driver in P37 ahead of Jonathan Collins by a single point. And it's Eduardo Gonzaga and Gabriel Yilmaz completing the top 40. Outside the top 40, it's Mark Sykes P41 ahead of Josh Brown, with James Scout, Kevin Smith and Andy Hilton complete your top 45. Then we have Sean Doble, rising star and Scottish driver, making his way up the running order into P46 ahead of Lewis Mason now by 3 points, with Andy Chell not on the grid today due to sickness. And if Andy, if you are tuning in, we hope you feel better soon. And therefore, Courtmaster Motorsport will not be represented by the team leader today, but behind him is Dylan Hunter by only 3 points, and Sammy Ariba completes her top 50, and the only Quartermaster Motorsport driver on the grid as we're to understand it for this round. Then to wrap up the overall standings, we have Jonathan Berry ahead of Craig Tillotson based on result countback, with Gabriel Papaconstantou and Gilberto Struck completing the run of P53, P54, result countback separating the two of them. Then it's Josh Boot, Shane Abbott and Mark Ken, all with points to their name, and yet score points, Costachas Constantou, Harley Bicknell and Joe Newman. Then coming to the Prime Drivers' Championship with the points adjusted for the Prime finishing positions. And here we can see Reece Watt leads. He continues to lead by a margin that's not increasing or decreasing. It's remained at 8 points. 8 points ahead of Stuart Winnes has moved to P2. And could the Track Scotland driver after today be leading for the championship for the first time this season? Well, he'll be aiming to do so, but you have to be aware of the fact that Ben Gregory's not too far behind, only 23 points off. And there's a sizable, what is that, almost 40-point gap to Sam Van Olst in P4. He's only 6 points ahead of Matthew Sheraton, who continues to take major points out to his rivals, but yet to land the big result he needs, albeit picking up that brilliant Prime win in the feature race at Nürburgring. Definitely has done him well, and he's moved ahead of Russell Fallow, who sits in P6. Alan McCain, Kieran Smart, Sam Smith and Lewis Delmont complete your top 10. With a younger member of the Delmont family, that under pressure Michael Lees, who sits in P11 on 410 points. This is the first 6 points to Duncan Rise, with Toby Prosser, Sam Bradley and Matt Emmons completing the top 15. And intriguingly, we'd see Sam Bradley and Matt Emmons there very close together, separated only by a single position in the championship, but look at the points delta between the two of them, and that really has been the story of their seasons in terms of the fact Bradley's had a better season compared to Emmons so far, but both of them stepping up into the AM class into the Prime class have found themselves in a very different pool of competition, and therefore both very eager to try and hold on to their top 15 spots. Jake Pitts only 2 points behind, as James Spazesgal, Gilberto Struck, Jack Osborne and Andy Hilton, who complete your top 20. And then we do see outside of the Prime class, coming on to the AM class Drivers' Championship, that it's Marcel Fritsch who leads the way here. In what is 100, well, goodness me, as I stumble over my words there, apologies, 661 points, and he's ahead of Josh Brown now, but the best part of 92 points. And indeed, it does look as though Marcel Fritsch right now starting to extend his advantage, and Brown will be very eager to try and make sure that advantage is not too great, given he's got growing pressure from Jonathan Collins and Gabriel Yilmaz, who are closing fast and only 3 points between the two. Outside the top 4, it's Lewis Mason, who sits in P5 on 523 points. He's well comfortably ahead of Eduardo Gonzaga, he'll feel, but then when Gonzaga could turn things around today, as could Sammy Ariba, who sits in P7, falling out of the top 5 for a brief moment, but then again it could be temporary. Next, Kevin Smith, Mark Sykes and Andy Chell complete your top 10. Outside the top 10 in the AM class, it's Jonathan Berry P11 on 330 points, 15 ahead of Sean Doby, with Gabriel Papaconstantou completing the championship standings. But as we come then onto the Teams Championship last but not least, NXTGEN Pink continue to lead as they look to defend their title once again this season, going on a 5-title streak if they make it work at the end of this season on 1,185 points, and they've got a comfortable advantage now extended to the best part there of 300 points over SO and NXTGEN Gold. However, the fight for P2 is incredibly close, with SO and NXTGEN Gold moving ahead of Doble Sim Racing for the first time this season, and for the first time being in P2. With only 11 points between the two teams, and then the further, what is 28 to Full Tilt V Motorsport. The fight for P2 right now is a three-way fight, and it's not going anywhere but closer. Goldwyn Motorsport, meanwhile, sits in P5 on 623 points, and they are only 6 points ahead of the Sim Racing Collective. RAC Sports are a further 15 points behind, and NextGen Orange and Whiskey Runners Racing can't be counted out, 25 points further afield, and therefore we do have some tremendous fights on for P2 and P5. Outside of the top 8 is Aztec Racing, who are holding a comfortable distance to Track Scotland, who sit in P10 on 414, and then on 392 points is JWM Motorsports, who will be looking to try and get back at Track Scotland today. Verano Esports ahead of the sister team Verano Academy in the hunt for P12, with National Racing Team only 8 points behind the lower place Verano team in P14. Then we have Atomic Esports only 3 points further adrift, with Mellow Motorsports, Quartmass Motorsport, and SJC Racing with 991 Racing completed the run to P18. There's ATEC Racing, the last of our teams to have points to their name on 8 points, with then our P20 team of 287 Motorsport with Autofocus Motorsport Media sitting last but not least on 0. But coming on to our circuit for today, it is none other than the International Land and Knockhill Racing racing circuit. Located in the county of Fife in the country of Scotland within the United Kingdom. Well, thank you to iRacing.com for their fantastic circuit maps and with it their brilliant simulator service. And as we can see here, this circuit looks very simple on paper, but a two-dimensional image does not explain how much elevation change is packed into a lap. Many of these corners will be household names to you if you've ever tuned into the BTCC or any other club racing discipline in the United Kingdom around here. And as our drivers roar their way up towards the highest point of the circuit down the start-finish straight, they'll head into Duffer's Dip, which is the sharp right-hander, which sees our drivers plummet all the way down through the Kinker 2 and into McIntyre at turn number 3. Now at the sharp right-hand right-angle corner, it's all about being as strong on the brakes as possible and as late as possible, while they make their way out into the fast sweeper at Butchers, and downhill they'll go to the lowest point of the circuit just as they enter the turn 5-6 chicane. As they make their way into the chicane, they'll find it's uphill and completely blind over the apex of 6, while they charge around the short stretch up towards Clark Corner at turn number 7, and as they make their way out the uphill right-hander, which is unsighted at the apex, then charge their way through the curvature of the railway straight, named after the old railway which used to run parallel to it, while they make their way onto the brakes of Taylor's Hairpin at turn number 9 to complete lap and start it all over again. And a little bit of trivia about this circuit: this is one of a limited number of circuits where the timing line for the start of the race and the end of the race are in two separate locations, where the finish line for this race is in fact about the best part of 50 metres to the west or earlier on that straight compared to the start-finish line. But with that trivia in mind, let's give you a quick recap of the rules. Setup-wise, this is a fixed setup series with setups provided ahead of each and every round and race. Driver classes, they've been finalised as of round number 3. In terms of how we set the grids for our races, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying. Meanwhile, the race 2 grid shall be set based on results of race number 1. So whoever takes the win in race 1, they line up on pole for race number 2, and we set the order accordingly for the rest of the grid for race 2. And in race number 3, the grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race 2, but it's a partially reverse grid, and we reverse the grid based on a lottery draw done in the commentary booth from between P13 and P23. Now, each driver shall have one fast repair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount of 22 laps, so approximately 20 minutes of racing, or if needed, we can go up to 30 minutes of racing if we do see the deployment of multiple safety cars and perhaps even a red flag. But to add to our rules, well, our race director, as always, our independent race director, is stewarding the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car. And we can see the penalties on screen there for track limit infringements, extending from warnings all the way through to a drive-through penalty. And those drive-through penalties must be served within 3 laps. On top of that, we do continue to run the success ballast, and that'll be applied on a race-by-race basis overall and in the Prime and Am classes. And we'll see the championship standings dictate the success ballast for qualifying and race number 1, and we'll update it iteratively based on the outcomes of each race for the following race. Now, drivers new to the series, and we do have a new driver on the grid today in the form of Callum Murray. He'll be in the AM class, SO NXTGEN Gold. They will carry a newcomer success ballast of 16.6 kilograms, and they'll only apply for this round until they potentially pick up an alternative success ballast. But if it's a heavier success ballast, that's where we'll see it change. All the success ballast values are on screen, and if you do want to take a screenshot of those, feel free to do so. We're not going to go through them all. Instead, we're going to head back to circuit side, ladies and gentlemen, and as our drivers get themselves set and ready to go racing, well, it is a cloudy day in Scotland. It is also a day whereby the clouds could disperse and the sun could shine for this man, Jaroslaw Cebula, who after that brilliant set of performances at Nürburgring with a P4 in race number 1 and a win overall in race number 2, we would have to imagine number 80 driver here will be feeling very confident that he can continue to carry that momentum forward and absolutely deliver. But then again, in chasing his first title, he knows he's going up against the very best that the NXTCC has to offer in the form of Mr. Two Wheels and Knockhill, Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing. And if you're wondering why we're saying Mr. Two Wheels, because if you did see some of the Instagram footage of the British Touring Car Championship of 2024, you will have seen this man in his Vauxhall Astra for Power Max Racing. Or PMR, you'll see it go up onto 2 wheels coming through the chicane, and it's quite an infamous shot there, and Mikey Doble absolutely committed to the racing, whether it be in reality or on the simulator. But as he heads on the round right now, one driver was absolutely committed to getting a good set of results out of his time at the Nürburgring was none other than this man for JWM Motorsport, and that's Michael Leach, the 55. And well, we didn't get the chance to have an interview with him over the course of the racing, or indeed the post-round interviews at none other than Nürburgring, but we're going to try and get a word with him now as we try to get a patch through into the car from Michael Leach and hear his thoughts. For the simple reason, he's a man we always do love having a quick chat to. And let's see if we can get a patch through, ladies and gentlemen, and give us a brief moment.
Just like that chicane, man.
For none other than Michael Leach. Sorry to butt in there, Michael. Have you got time for a quick word?
Yeah, of course I have, mate.
Well, Michael, we didn't quite get to have the chance to talk to you after the race at Nürburgring, where you pulled off some heroics, but you're here today at Knockhill. How are you feeling for it?
Oh, not so good. Not so good. I cannot get that chicane right. This thing feels like a absolute plank of wood trying to go over them curbs, so it just feels stiff as a board.
Oh, goodness me. Well, the Honda has had a reputation for finding curves to either be absolutely fantastic or tremendously tricky, and it sounds like it's the latter today. Have you and your team set any targets for these races?
I mean, I think this week it's just damage limitation at the moment. I mean, last week for me was a fantastic result. I mean, after Cheverton got that penalty, I actually ended up getting the overall podium in the feature race, so very happy with that. But yeah, I think this week, if I just don't die, I think I'll be happy.
Well, we wish you the best luck for today. We will leave you to it. We've got 30 seconds left before qualifying, and we'll see you as the racing goes on.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. Good to speak to you.
So hearing there from none other than Michael Lees, and well, so it's all about damage limitation today, and just looking to see what he can scrape out of it. Indeed, the whole team talking about the Honda being quite planky over the curves, and the Honda has had a reputation for the highest of curves, or curves which really are sharp in their approach in terms of the angle, to end up essentially bottoming the car out, and it can make the suspension bounce around really aggressively. And we did see that in particular the last time we came to Knockhill, all the way back in what was, if my memory serves me correctly, season 1 of the NXTCC, if not season 2. Could we see more difficulty for the Hondas today? But we'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen, as it is time for qualifying. And well, as we make our way into the session, we do say hello there in the YouTube chat to also Luca56, I believe that's Luca Monroe, who was asking how will the grid be set for the other two races. And hopefully, Luca, you're able to pick up on what we mentioned earlier on when we went through the rules and regulations. But just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the race 2 grid is essentially the results of race number 1. We take those results and interpolate them into the grid straight away. Meanwhile, for what is race number 3, we take a partial reverse grid from between P13 and P23 based on lottery draw in the commentary booth. But we also say hello there to Mark Kent, unfortunately not on the grid for the remainder of the season. He was at the start of the season, our AM driver, not quite able to make it due to health concerns, but still very happy to have him tune in. I hope you're doing well, Mark. And we also say hello in the Facebook chat there to the Rano Esports account that's cheering on the Rano Esports Drivers Day, whether it be their official major team, alternatively the academy team, and indeed they've got it all to go out there. But as we say, that qualifying is underway. The clock is already ticking away, and 15 minutes trickles away with it. Now, many of you may be thinking at this point, okay, well, what's different about this qualifying session compared to some of the others? Well, firstly, look at that track map in the top right corner of your screen. Keep in mind that we do have the best part of 45 drivers here at a 1.26 mile circuit. That means this circuit is going to get increasingly crowded as qualifying goes on, as our drivers begin to spread out and they look for some space. But add to that as well the risk of off-tracks. You can see gravel already being placed on the circuit's tarmac. Indeed, it only takes a small of, oh goodness me, in the rear of the pitch, that is Isaac Doble going very sideways, coming out of the chicane, and was a precise reason why this is going to be a very tricky qualified session. As we look to Isaac Doble's car there, brilliant car control to collect it and bring it back coming out the chicane, where he made his way into the uphill right-hander of Clark Corder. But right now, many a driver could be on a perfect lap, only to find a couple of little specks of gravel will send them very wide indeed, or just a bit of overcommitment and over-enthusiasm. But as he roars his way on around, it goes on to what will be another flying lap shortly, albeit that one will be invalidated, so he needs to put a new lap on the board. Well, as he charges his way through, we say hello to Katie in from the Facebook chat. I'm doing not too bad, thank you, Katie. I hope you're doing well as well. And I can see a shout out there to the Rano team drivers and for myself as well. Well, what can we expect in qualifying? Well, we got a major off there, and that is a car to the barrier. That was none other than Michael Lees, I believe, taking a trip all the way out there as he made his way out of McIntyre, just carried too much speed and went to the barrier. It is so easy to make a mistake in the qualified section. Also, finding space will be at a premium, so therefore getting a good lap in fast is going to be absolutely pivotal. The flip side of the coin, however, is the fact that given the lap is less than a minute in length, it's approximately what will be for the fastest laps about 52.3 to 52.2 seconds, depending on conditions. It means you can get plenty of qualifying laps in here, and indeed, as we see another driver running wide, that's Joe Doble taking a trip to the weeds as he rally crosses his line and tries to bring it back on. And did he make it in the end? Well, in the end, he has to go all the way around the outside of Clark, and that's going to be a lot of gravel pulled back onto the circuit. He does rejoin, but therefore it's so easy to make a mistake and seal that four part. And now he's got to get himself settled, he's got to get the dirt off the tyres, and then he's got to get himself back in the rhythm, and that is where all the difficulty will come for many of our drivers, in the fact that they can't strike the rhythm early, then they may end up qualifying very far down the order. And add to that as well, we talked a little bit about the Honda and the perspective from Michael Lees at least. I've also been hearing down the paddock when I had the chance to catch up with Jamie Doble earlier on, the Audi RS3 driver. The Audis have really been struggling here, and that is because this circuit does not allow them to really exploit their grunt, that torque they have, particularly for major acceleration zones, and even more so when they're driving uphill. Now, you'd think with the elevation changing around here, the Audi would go quite strongly, but the problem is the acceleration zones are so short. The only time really when the Audi can deliver its power is on the run and through the railway curve all the way out towards Taylor's hairpin, coming out of turn 7 at Clark, all the way out to turn 9 that is, and also coming out of Taylor's hairpin and on the run up towards Duffers Dip at turn number 1. So it means the Audi will be relatively safe from overtaking opportunities, but it won't feel comfortable going through the run of what will be McIntyre all the way through to the chicane. With a number of instances, our Audi drivers will typically find they're either on the limiter in one gear, or they'll need to be in a gear height and they lose all their power as they try to accelerate. So therefore, for the Audi drivers, it could be a damage limitation, right? And also this Audi has been quite visibly struggling over the raised curves here at Knockhill. Something where the Audi goes quite well over moderate curve into light curve, but as soon as you make the curves very raised, it starts out like the Honda in terms it just does not agree with them. As he rolls his way on through none other McIntyre's, and now coming up pouring on down here through Butchers and in to the chicane. We're focused very close to James Spencer's here in the Aztec Racing Machine as he runs quite wide. More lap times are already coming in. We've got Dan Mould currently the provisional fastest 5 minutes into this session with what is under a 52 there, so 51.857. The slipstream's going to prove quite powerful around here as well, particularly on that start-finish line straight for the start and end of a lap. If you pick it up and also run through a railway curve up towards Taylor's at turns 8 through to 9, so therefore a little bit of toe could go a long way. What will also go a long way is a rather consistent day today, and speaking of consistent, well, we look forward to seeing whether he can make it a consistent run of races on his debut. Here is none other than Callum Murray, who makes his debut to the NXTCC grid there in the Honda Civic Tyre Park number 899 car for SO and NXTGEN Gold, and we wish him all the best luck today as he makes his way on his NXTCC journey. As he roars his way across the timeline, he put a valid lap on the board the first time round. This time, no, he won't, and he's still got a way to go before he gets a valid lap in the scene, as he now starts to make his way into the second third of his qualifying session. Now, speaking of early surprises or early charges out of the blocks, this is none other than Dylan Hunter, our American driver, who right now absolutely delivering this qualifying session. You can see P19, but most importantly for him, now P20. And overall provisionally, as you can see, and pole we should say provisionally, as he roars his way to turns 1, 2 and 3, tucked in behind there the car on none other. And then Jamie Dory at this time, I think, still trying to pick up a little bit more pace while this qualifying session is all done and dusted. Finds this little sandwich between a number of pros and pro-ams. And this is a bit of an uncomfortable position to be in for Hunter, albeit what he's got to do is just commit to his line and commit to logic, which is if he is on an improving lap, stick to it, because at the end of the day, he doesn't have to give way if he's on an improving lap. The drivers behind him will need to back off if they want to try and win the qualifying lap. And that's why we have the 3 different classes. The cars are labelled, all the drivers are aware that we've got AMs, prams and pros, and the difference in pace between them, while drivers do have to respect it. It works both ways in terms of AM drivers need to be mindful of having the faster drivers around them, but our pros and our prams need to be mindful that the AMs are out there learning and they may be a little bit slower. But also look at that, the top 33 separated by just over a second currently, all the way from Dan Mould's original pole time through to Ben Gregory P33. This is going to be one of the tightest qualifying sessions of the season, and that tightness will mean it is going to be an absolute challenging session in order to be able to get it right. And indeed, you just find a couple hundredths out there and you could leapfrog your way the best part of 5 to 10 places, let alone if you find a 10th or 2, well, there could be some magic to be worked. Speaking of working his magic, Benjamin McCluskey right now currently P2 as Dan Mould behind goes even faster there, a 51.714. The SO and NXTGEN Hyundai Velocity is absolutely flying right now, and still with 7.5 minutes left on this qualifying session to be 2.5 tenths faster at this point in the session. Well, that could be something, and that could really seal the deal here in qualifying, given the fact that right now Mould seems to be finding all the pace out there and the rest of the field seems to be struggling. And keep in mind that Dan Mould does not have any success ballast in that car. Well, that'll go some way to explaining why, compared to some of his rivals in the championship, particularly in the top 10 overall, he's faster. When you look at the likes, say, Mikey Doble, who's carrying was the second place success ballast, the best part of 49 kilograms, and also there what will be none other than Jaroslaw Cebula, who's carrying 56.1 kilograms, but still it also goes to show that Dan Mould is absolutely locking in the laps here, and he goes purple in the final sector, improves by another 300, so a 51.683, and right now, can anybody stop this man? That'll be the big question. As meanwhile, Kieran Smart, well, he's managed to leap his way up to P2, and that's provisional Pro-Am pole as he makes his way out of Taylor's and onto the start-finish line straight, and Smart right now on home soil is absolutely flying out there. He's got the best part with 7 places with himself in second place prime driver Duncan Rise as they head across that title once again. Car out there on the grass, and our drivers have been told if they're leaving the pit lane to use the outside grass and go through the gravel out of turn 1 on the outside and rejoin the circuit at turn 3 to make sure they don't drive onto the racing line for this qualifying session. So that's why you'll see a number of drivers, as soon as they leave the pit lane, they will drive onto the grass. We've got a car in the wall there, and that is Dylan Hunter pointing in the wrong direction. He's trying to get it turned around. He's had a major shut to the barrier, and well, that's going to take some time because Lewis Mason now is the fastest AM out there, only by what is 17 thousandths over Hunter. It's a very small margin, and well, as he makes his way on through, it does look as though now Lewis Mason has started to pick up some pace. We've got another driver rejoin there, that's the number 80 car, and I believe that is on the second tyre part of Cebula, who's currently down at P17, and well, for Cebula, also for Mikey Doble, although I say that Mikey Doble has found his way all the way to P5. That is some stellar work from the three-time champion in the number 88 with that Audi RS3. He's definitely shown that Audi can be made to work here, and well, given he's got the second place championship success ballast to put it inside the top 10, this will be a huge qualifying result. And here's another factor as well we haven't really talked about so far. Overtaking a Knockhill really requires commitment. The only real overtaking locations are the run and the start finish straight in towards Duffus at turn at number 1. Arguably, if you go too wide through Duffus and all the way into McIntyre at 3, you can make overtakes through turns 3 into 4, but after that, it's single file until you make your way through the railway curve on turn 8 all the way towards Taylor's at turn number 9. So there are overtaking opportunities, but you've got to be absolutely committed and glued to your rival in order to make them happen. So qualifying well here could mean that you're going to hold a very strong track position when you do go into green flag racing. But as we can see there, Doble having to back out as he crosses the timeline, given the amount of traffic in front of him. And we'll very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump on board for a lap with our drivers. In fact, we're going to jump on board with none other than Jaroslaw Cebula as he takes us around for a flying lap of the Knockhill International Circuit. In fact, back it off there, it would seem, and as he now builds up the speed, so we won't be using this as an on-board lap, given the fact that Cebula's had to back off in entirety, and well, I think just respect for the traffic coming on through, so we'll hold the phone there for a brief moment, and instead we will jump on board with our other drivers, and in fact, I think we're going to get on board instead from William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport as he makes his way through Taylor's, and we're coming out of the final quarter, chasing the 37 in front of him, and that being Adam Delmont's car. Let's jump inside the Full Tilt Motorsport Veloz now as he takes you around for a flying lap of Knockhill Racing Circuit's International Layout. We'll cross the timeline into Duffus at turn 1, breaking down there from 119 miles an hour into third gear, and now charges his way downhill before keeping the car to the left-hand side to open up McIntyre at turn number 3. Out the right-hand as he comes, and now into Butchers at turn 4, and here it's all about a nice tight line initially to straighten up the run through the chicane, bouncing over the curves there at turn 5 and 6, and now in towards turn number 7 he goes. He comes in towards the right-hander here, and we're right his way through Clark Court. You can see the car cutting loose there under braking down to second gear for a brief period, now back full throttle as he roars his way up the railway curve, and then up towards turn number 9, a very crowded run to turn 9 this time, keeping it over to the left hand side to open up the hairpin, braking as late as he dares, down all the way to second gear, down to first the apex here to get as much rotation as possible, and then actually slamming his foot down to the floor on that throttle pedal to go plate lap and do it all over again. Well, for Guthrie, the laps come as quick and fast as that, and well, in the end does not improve that time around, but that is a lap of the 1.26 mile Knockhill Racing Circuit, brought to you by William Guthrie, our pro driver. And indeed our winner of the sprint race in Germany at Nürburgring last time out. Can he make it another race win today? We'll have to wait and see as he roars his way and returns 4, 5 and 6 here, bouncing over those coaches. You can see the driver absolutely hopping over them, practically flying on 2 wheels, and well, behind him there I believe is none other than Ben Trick, staying right with his teammate, and these two trying to work together to move themselves up that order and qualify very well. As we say hello there to Fraser Garrity and also to Average Joe in the YouTube chat, and Fraser cheering on Dan Mould. Dan Mould is our provisional pole man right now, overall on a 51.639, and 1 second faster than second place man, and that is your Brian pole sitter, provisional of Kieran Smart, the Track Scotland driver, going well. What about the other Track Scotland driver, Stuart Winus? He's down in P12, and perhaps you can understand a bit of a delta here. It's a delta of what is 4 seconds, well not 4 seconds, 4 tenths for instance, albeit it feels like 4 seconds given the shortness of the circuit. and that is because Wines, of course, is running the second place Pro-Am success bars, whereas Smart, by comparison, is running no way to the car. And well, as Wines comes out to turn at number 6, out the chicane, he runs wide and just keeps it planted here, and drives on into the gravel trap at Clark, and lets the car gradually come around there, drifted very nicely, and that's the best way to do it, just stay safe. And I do believe that we are going to be seeing some drivers start from the back of the field, including Daniel Fritz, who will be starting from the back, not in this qualified session. That's why he's tuning in right now. As it says, drive to survive stroke, last the first challenge for me, and we look forward to seeing what he can do. And well, further on down the order, Luca Monroe, currently all the way down at P47, moved up to what is the Pro-Am class. He was our guest driver in the AM class for the Nürburgring, but he's promoted to Pro-Am for this round, and we look forward to seeing what he can do, albeit in that Honda Suit type. He started at the back of the grid almost effectively with Callum Murray and Daniel Fritz. Callum Murray, the lowest place driver with a valid time, P48, but 49 drivers here, and some more lap times coming in, and a fastest final sector for Wayne Douglas, the Douglas Motorsport driver, who's typically gone very fast here at Knockhill. And well, we can see here just how fast he can be. Currently P3 runs a little bit wide there, going out McIntyre's into Butchers, keeping it nice and compact now as he redrives and gets it back together here. Already his way in towards turn at number 7, that unsighted corner, as he crawls his way towards the end of the lap. But less than a minute to go in qualifying. That means our drivers are not on their final flying laps now. They will be very shortly. And speaking of one who's on the flying lap, we're inside the top 5 of the overall championship. Down in P27 currently is none other than Jamie Dory, struggling in this qualifying session. And well, we spoke to him earlier on today. He did say he was expecting it not to be an easy day at the office. And we're speaking of another driver who's hoping for an easier day at the office, Josh Brown, as we see the National Racing Team Hyundai Elantra N driver making his way through the first 3 quarters. When I caught up with him in the build-up to tonight, he was saying to me he's hoping to gain another haul of points tonight and Knockhill, as it's one of his favourite circuits on the calendar, and he's gone well here in the past. So he's very eager to get out on the circuit and show what he can do. And after a difficult day at Nürburgring, which didn't do him any favours, it's head down and time to move forward to keep his championship hunt versus Marcel Fritsch alive. Once the checker flag comes out for Brown right now, it's looking as though it's going to be an uphill climb today. He's currently P7 in AM class, P41, and meanwhile Marcel Fritsch, who is your AM championship leader at this time, is currently the fastest AM out there by a considerable margin in P26 over Jonathan Collins. He has got 2.5 tenths of an advantage, so therefore this qualifying session right now could be proven to be swinging the way of Fritsch once again for WS Racing Esports stroke Verano Academy, but he makes his way out the final corner. Will we see the change here? Can we see any AMs jump their way out the order? Fritsch makes his way to the pit lane. He's not improving. Gavin Garner, meanwhile, crosses the line, stays P20, and as quick as it started, qualifying is complete, ladies and gentlemen. Will we see any more improvements out there? Well, Stuart Winus, I believe, is on a cool-down lap, so therefore he won't be improved. Sam Smith is also on an in-lap. Kinney's had a nightmare lap, so that is qualifying done and dusted, and with that, it is Dan Mould who has taken overall pole position, and that's on a 51.63 line by a single tenth over Kieran Smart, who lines up alongside him as what will be none other and then your Pro-Am pole sitter P2, and in the AM class P26 overall, Marcel Fritsch has stolen away that AM pole position by a major margin with Jonathan Collins, the next AM driver, P35. Well, what a qualifying session, and well, ladies and gentlemen, we now get ourselves set for what is going to be most likely an absolutely incredible round of racing to come. But as our grid's being set, we do look to the grid, and this is how our drivers line up for our first race of round 6 of the NXTCC Season 8, powered by Doble Motorcycles. It is Dan Mould who has taken pole position for SO and Extra Gold. He is joined on the front row of the grid by Kieran Smart, your prime pole sitter for Track Scotland, and on the home soil that is going to be a huge start to his day. Wayne Douglas starts P3, the Douglas Motorsport driver who's always gone well here at Knockhill, and he proves that once again with a second row start in the company of NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey. Mikey Doble, despite the success bus, despite the difficulties of the Audi RS3, the 3-time champion lines up P5 for Doble Sim Racing. He's joined on the third row of the grid by William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport. We then have on row at number 4, P7, Alex Meredith for NextGen Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, and these are the company of the second Track Scotland car, Stuart Winus, who in the end was able to break into the top 10, started P8 and second place in the Pro-Am class. Will Track Scotland dominating qualifying for the Pro-Am class? Can they dominate the race? Daniel Downing lines up P9 for Goldwyn Motorsport. We erroneously said that he was a Pro-Am driver earlier on, but he's definitely a Pro driver, and you can see it there. And he's joined on the 5th row of the grid by the championship leader overall, Jaroslaw Cebula for NextGen Pink. Outside the top 10, P11 starts Ben Altrier for Full Tilt V Motorsport, and he'll be joined in the company of Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective. From them, on the 7th row of the grid, we do have Adam Delman for SO NXTGEN Gold and Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Race, who started off the qualifying session spending a lot of time in the gravel, but found his way into the top 15 come the end. Andrew Pyatt lines up P15 for the Sim Racing Collective in a difficult qualifying session there for the Briton, but he's got the company of fellow countryman Verano Esports' Russell Fowler, who starts P16. We then do have Lewis Delman and Sam Smith, an all-prime 9th row for SO NXTGEN Gold and iRacing Esports respectively, and completing the top 20. It's the South African Duncan Race for Goldwyn Motorsport and the Briton of Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Ping. P21 starts the day of Ben Gregory for Full Tilt V Motorsport. A difficult qualifying session, it would seem, for the prime driver, but how far can he go from there? He's got the company of Andy Fox, P22 for Goldwyn Motorsport alongside him. Then we do have Sam Van Ol's P23, his teammate just behind, and Joe Doble P24 for Doble Sim Racing. Then line up P25, it's Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports, ahead of Marcel Fritsch, AM pole sitter in an absolutely staggering qualifying session for the Verano Academy driver, and this seems to be the running theme right now for the number 7 driver from Austria. How long can it continue for? And then we do see behind him at Lee Horn for NXTGEN Orange Risk Gunners Racing, well out of the top 15, and his worst qualifying performance of the season at P27. P28 goes the way of Michael at least, the JWM Motorsport driver, who we spoke to in the build-up to the qualifying session, saying he was expected to be damage limitations day, and that seems to be the way so far. And wrapping up your top 30, it's the combination of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Ping and Alan McCain for iRacing Esports. Lining up P31, it's Aztec Race's Matthew Cheverton ahead of Reese Fox for JWM Motorsport. And then we do have Sam Bradley P33 for SO NXTGEN Gold and Aztec Race's James Smasosgal. And then behind them on the 18th row of the grid is the Ampere of Jonathan Collins for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing and Aztec Race's Lewis Mason. And then we do continue the theme of running into our AM class drivers with a pair of Dylan Hunter for DH Racing and Josh Brown for National Racing Team on the 19th row. On what is your 20th row to complete your top 40, it's Craig Tillison for Verano Academy and Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing. And behind the Welshman is the Englishman Kevin Smith starting P41 for Verano Academy, ahead of Callum Murray on his debut for SO NXTGEN Gold, where he starts P8 in the AM class, but 9, a lot of work's got to be done if he wants to pick up a top 5 in the AMs. Sean Doby starts P43 on his home circuit for ATEC Racing ahead of Sammy Arriba for Courtmass Motorsport. Then we have Mark Sykes P45 for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing ahead of Gabriel Yilmaz for Aztec Racing, with William Curler P47 for Aztec Racing ahead of Luca Monroe for United Sim Team. And starting last but not least, P49, it's Daniel Fritz for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, who will be taking the last to first challenge in the AM class, and what a change that's going to be. Well, the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen. We hear your feedback there in the YouTube chat from Mr. BF John with regards to the volume of the microphone compared to the cars. We have adjusted that, and hopefully that will be visible as we do go into the racing. Do keep us posted there, because we want to make sure we give you the best possible broadcast where we can. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, lights are going on for the first time today. It's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the first race of the day at Knockhill. The tries get underway, and Dan Mould looks to roar his way away and does so successfully. As Kieran Smart, meanwhile, under pressure as they cover down towards turn 1 into Duff as they go. And it's going to be Douglas on the inside there as all the drivers begin to roar their way down. And will Smart falling back a bit further. Meanwhile, further back, we've got 2 3 wides. You see Duncan Rise there making some pressure on Lewis Delman, trying to go round the outside, but Delman gets back ahead of him. Go over in McIntyre's, and as our drivers roar their way out towards the chicane, we'll back it out. There's none other Gavin Gardner as everybody does kill the opening few quarters. Meanwhile, our AM posted to Marcel Fritsch in amongst the fighting there, P28, and doing a great start as well as Josh Brown has leapt his way up into P35, already up into 2nd place in the AM class as they head on through Clark Court. You can see a driver being Elwood slightly wide. Oh, goodness me, car around, that's Alan McCain, and McCain's car's going to come back onto the road, and as it does, the Caesar car's part. A couple of drivers collected there, and oh, goodness me, some AMs coming into the unside car of McCain, and well, they'll clear the road quite quickly, but that could be some drivers' races in the pits. But meanwhile, back up front onto lap number 2, it's Mould still leading after 1 lap, and Mould right now absolutely nailing the start as Wayne Douglas and Kieran Spar all give chase. Behind them, we do see Tom Davidson in P11, still battling with Jaroslaw Cebula, who's moved up slightly since the start of this race, and well, he makes some progress here. All the drivers right now in line of stern formation, and the top 10 could not be close at this point, with only 4.4 seconds separating the top 10, and indeed our P11 driver in amongst it all. As they roar the way on around here on lap number 2. Further back down the order, we see Sam Smith all over the back of Duncan Rise, and well, there's Gavin Gardner, as it's going to be a small error there for Moraes, who goes defensive, coming out of Clark Corner, and as they come down through Railway, we can see Moraes on the inside, and Smith on the outside here. The Elantra drive trying to go around the Honda. It's got the speed on the straights, but has it got the brakes in the corners? And the answer is no. That's where the Honda goes best, and in the end, Moraes holds on. Meanwhile, up the road, Ben Altria under pressure from Isaac Doble, and well, we can see here the Doble Sim Racing Audi RS3 on the inside into Duffer's Dip, and as he roars his way into that braking zone, too wide they enter, too wide they carry on through. Brilliant racing between them, but Doble's going to be there into McIntyre, and in the end, a bit of contact between the two, a bit of a lean, but it's going to be legal here, and Altria does get elbowed out coming into Butchers, and it is a nice move from Isaac Doble. You've got to get your elbows out here in Knockhill. It's never going to quite be absolutely perfectly clean, but great racing from them, and here comes Andrew Pike. Pike up the inside as he tries to edge his way past Altria, and Altria says no to that, and the Honda struggles behind as they make the way up towards Taylor's. As they head up towards the hairpin, looking to further back down the order still, we'll hold that thought for a moment, as here comes now Adam Delman up the inside of Pike into Taylor's. Behind him is Russell Fowler in the Verano Esports machine, that being the Audi RS3 all in yellow, and as they come up towards the timeline after what has been 3 laps of racing, we can see that Dan Mould leads ahead of Wayne Douglas in P2 under increasing pressure of Mikey Doble, and prime leader Kieran Smart is P4, Benjamin McCluskey's P5 ahead of William Guthrie P6, Alex Redder P7, Stuart Wine is the second of the prime cars. Track Scotland are currently 1-2 in the prime class. He's P8, Daniel Dan in P9, Jaroslaw Cebula P10, and then Bester is P11 is Tom Davidson. But looking back up to Mikey Doble, battling here with Kieran Smart, and Smart doesn't want to miss out on an overall podium. He's going all for this, a little bit of rub between the two of them. 2-1 as they exit Clark Corner, and now onwards they'll go down Roundway up towards Taylor, up towards the Taylor hairpin. But as you can see there, look at the queue behind. That's Guthrie, that's also McCluskey, Meredith. They're all looking left, right, and centre as they go 2 by 2 under braking, and Will Smart gets back ahead for now. But for how long will it be as we look back from the rear of the P3 machine as he roars his way onto another lap here, and it's absolutely sticking in. We can understand why the 39 driver doesn't just want to win the prime class in this race. He wants to put an overall podium to his name. It'll be the first of this season for him. And as he comes down through turns 1, 2 and 3 now, well, it's looking very, very good right now for Kieran Smart, and indeed his teammate Stuart One is down in P10. He's fallen a couple of places down. I believe he's had an off track through turns 1, 2 and 3, but he's very comfortable from what is the rest of the prime field. The rest of the prime field being led by Russell Fowler, who's got Lewis Delman for close company, and here they are by comparison a lot further down the order as they make the way onwards towards what will be turn number 7. Through the right-hander they come and over the crest, but before they come out of the right-hander, well, there's a bit of an off there from Fowler, but it doesn't perturb him. Lewis Delman stays glued, and meanwhile Father Adam is right behind Lewis as they make the way down. You can see there Lewis Delman absolutely eager, trying to chomp at the bit here to look for a move. Oh, goodness me, Adam Delman loses the rear of the car. Too much rear brake bias, too eager on the brakes, and well, a little bit of contact there to Duncan Rays and Sam Smith, but they all managed to clear it, and one error, an uncharacteristic error from Adam Delman. That goes to show you how much passion he's putting behind the wheel of that Honda Civic Type, and how desperate he is to get the points on the board. Now his championship is just gradually falling away. We just had Luca Monroe had to tow to the pits. We're not quite sure the story there, but the prime driver had a nightmare start to his race here in Scotland. And meanwhile, all of this, we've got the AM driver here, AM leader Marcel Fritsch, who's got Sam Bradley behind, and Dylan Hunter is now all the way up into P2 in the AM class. Now what has happened to Josh Brown in all of this? Well, that's the big question we're going to try and get the answer to very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But Hunter's back up into P2 in the AM class. He's doing very well right now. He seems to really enjoy this circuit. And Craig Tillerson is a bit further back as they make the way on through the right-hander. But here's a quick replay as to what happened to Josh Brown. And this was, oh goodness me, these two cars connected together, and that is Brown, and I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that might be the car there of what is none other than James Mazdarscow. There's been a bit of an incident before that, I think, and we have a further replay. This may explain it. Coming roaring into turn 9 was Brown as they exit the corner, contact between the two of them, the cars get connected together and into the barrier, and Brown and Mazdarscow race ends up being pinned together all the way to the point when they retire to the pits. As we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we won't hold on for too long in those replays for the simple reason we've still got plenty more racing to come. And was Hunter continues to charge on. Behind him now is Craig Tillerson, and well, these two fighting for that run-up spot in the AM class with Jake Pitt close behind, and then William Kurtler an extra 1.3 seconds back. But coming up towards turn number 7, it looks so all the drivers right now settling down into a rhythm. But speaking of a rhythm, you need to find it in order to come away with some good points. And Gavin Garner having a bit of a difficult moment. Oh, goodness me, Ben Gregory is around onto the grass. We've also got Lee Horn. They're all going round at Taylor's. I'm not quite sure what's triggered that off, but I can tell you one thing, that's not the way you do Taylor's corner, and was they make the way back up to speed. I think there everyone just came in absolutely nick and tug as we see Matthew Sheraton and Michael Leese in the foreground of the camera shot fighting to Duffers, and well, it does seem as though with these two right now, Sheraton looking for an opportunity, can't quite find it, and has to back out in its entirety. Meanwhile, as they make the way through the right into left here, coming into the chicane, we can see there Jamie Dory fended off Michael Leese. He's trying to put some pressure on Reese Watt as Sheraton runs wide, takes the rallycross line there, and will rejoins, albeit now it's going to be Gregory who gets ahead of him. Marcel Fritsch tucks it behind there, but Fritsch will know with all the fighting in front of him, he's being pushed backwards gradually towards Dylan Hunter and Craig Tillerson, and that is something he will not want to have in the long term because it will put him under pressure for that and win. As the drives come down to the brakes here for the hairpin this time around, let's take a look back at what happened on the previous lap, which saw Ben Gregory and Lee Horn go around at Taylor's. Now, he went onto the brakes here. I think there's going to be contact between Gregory there and the number 13 for iRacing Esports, and then Lee Horn just gets intact, and well, that sends him around. And in fact, we jump on board from the perspective of Lee Horn as he came onto the brakes here, going to exit the corner. He's made contact with Gregory, and in turn, a car behind him has tapped him, and well, it's been a chain reaction there, and that's what's led to the incident between them. Couldn't quite discern which cars they were involved with. Well, I think the iRacing Esports car was the number 013, and that would have been the car of Nick Clibbins, and the car that taps Lee Horn we couldn't quite see. But meanwhile, we just come back in time to see what was that car running wide. That was one of the Verano Academy cars that's taken a long trip off the road, and that's Kevin Smith, who effectively is a lap down on the race now, and well, Smith down in P43, or what equates to P11 in the AM class. Craig Tillerson, meanwhile, pushing onwards here as he heads up towards Taylor's and running very comfortably in P3 in the AM class. As you can see, William Kurtler having to relinquish a position there to Andy Fox, and Fox had a nightmare start to the day today. And when I caught up with Fox in the build-up to the race today, he said all he wanted to do was stay out of trouble after those incidents on lap 1 in both races at Nürburgring. Well, trouble seems to have found him once again, and really that has been the story of what has been his first season as a pro driver after that phenomenal season in season 7 as a pro-am driver. William Kurtler, meanwhile, now just falling back into the clutches of lap down Alan McCain. He's got Sean Doby a further what is 1 second behind, so Doby will be very eager to try and take a snip at that P4, but Doby's got growing pressure from Daniel Fritz, who's trying to do the first change in the AM class and started last of our running drivers on the grid order. But the number 31 driver here finding now that he's up against the elements. He chases after the Scottish-born driver Sean Doby as they make the way up towards turn number 9. But they roar the way on through. We'll keep an eye on that when we can as we reach the halfway point of this race. And well, as our drivers make the way around on lap 11, if you're the leaders, Mikey Doble now under pressure from Kieran Smart, and Smart absolutely glued to the back of Doble. And I think here Doble really struggling with the combination of that success balance and also the Audi really needed perfect lines in order to get the most out of it, whereas that Elantra by comparison can absolutely clobber its way out of the curbs given the fixed setups these cars are running. And as they make the way towards Taylor's, well, Smart's going to be on the inside, goes all in the brakes here with that momentum. Brilliant bit of driving for the 39 driver, gets it pinned and parked up absolutely on the spot. And you see Benjamin McCluskey, Alex Meredith and William Guthrie all queuing up here as Smart now being pushed along. As they head up towards turn number 1, Smart goes defensive. Doble now looks to the outside. Got to be careful here, of course. You can do one defensive move, but you can't then zigzag and weave into the defensive area or the braking zone. And therefore, Kieran Smart right now literally running to the rules and regulations in terms of defending. And Mikey Doble having to try and unpick what is an absolute Rubik's Cube of defensive driving for the number 39 driver. That's what we love to see as they head in towards Clark once again. And Doble on the inside here looking all in. It'll be a reverse of the move that was made on the previous lap by Smart versus Doble, and was a drag race the race through the railway curve up towards turn number 9. It is going to be Smart that gets ahead. Meanwhile, you can see the field scattering around as Benjamin McCluskey now looks for an opportunity around the outside. Meredith as well, but look at Guthrie. Guthrie says, I can make this 3 wide if I try. He does. A little bit of a love tap between himself and Meredith that also sends Wes McCluskey sliding down to the gravel, but as they roar the way along, Guthrie may get away with this as Meredith is going to fall back behind McCluskey. Guthrie's still there on the inside, coming into turn 1, into Duff as they go. 2 wide go the Velosters. Who's going to come out on top of them? It's going to be McCluskey as Guthrie there can't return to the racing line. He's got Meredith on his inside. Brilliant racing between them. And in the end, well, William Guthrie gains one. He can't quite gain them both. Behind Daniel Downing, our driver who started off in the Pro class at the start of this season, but absolutely dominated in the opening couple of rounds, has moved up to Pro on his return after the birth of his child in season 7. It's so great to see the number 17 driver out there for Goldwyn Motorsport, and he's enjoying a very happy race in P8 right now, albeit I suspect in that Honda Civic Type R he's playing the game of wait wait, watch and listen as we see Meredith going defensive now. I think Meredith's got a slowdown penalty and he's serving it off the racing line. Now drivers have been told if they get an automated slowdown penalty, they're to serve it on what is the inside line through turn 8 all the way out towards 9, and that's exactly what Meredith was doing there. But Downing will now lose the toe of Guthrie as they head on to the next lap, and therefore that is going to be a little of a bittersweet moment. But as they head onwards towards the next lap, you can see the queue of cars queuing up behind and looking at further back. Jamie Dory now getting stuck in here versus Ben Gregory. Gregory having an absolute blast, battling side by side between these two as they make the way onwards towards turn number 1. And Gregory right now, when he falls back, he's got Matthew Sheraton for company. Sheraton looking for an opportunity as they head over the crest and down into turn number 1. But as they come downhill there, eclipse the apex curve for Gregory, and that's going to give Sheraton opportunities. There's a huge line from Dory. My good lord, and Jamie Dory, how on earth did he get that back together with? That man doesn't play cricket or baseball as a fielder in his spare time, and that has got to be the catch of the century, because my good lord, the next gen pink driver slides one through. Sheraton's not too happy about it. Well, you can see a flash of lights there for Ben Gregory, but on reflection, I think Jamie Dory right now may have just had a contender for save of the season that's been caught on the broadcast. Well, I can tell you, Jaroslaw Cebula had one off broadcast at the Nürburgring, which I think would have made many a heart stop. But Jamie Dory definitely showing he's got some brilliant car control in that Audi. Meanwhile, look behind and look at this. This is the battle for the Am Lee. That's Marcel Fridge who's under pressure, and Dylan Hunter behind. As we look back from the rear of the number 7 Honda, the Renault Academy driver car is now under pressure from the DH Racing Veloster, and this is what we're talking about earlier with the fact that the field in front of Fridge has been so busy battling that it's resulting in Fridge being under pressure. Off camera, Mould and Douglas are battling for the overall lead, and we will come to that very shortly as we can see the Hunter getting close. Meanwhile, coming back to the front of the field, here is none other than Dan Mould, and more the gap, given it was the best part of 2 seconds, we're not quite sure what's happened to Dan Mould, although on that previous lap, the lap from Dan Mould was a 53.5. We suspect there might have been a slowdown element in that for the number 62 driver, and therefore that's why he's been brought back into the clutches of what is Wayne Douglas, who was 2 seconds back. Mikey Doble was a further, what was at the time, 5 seconds back, so 7.5 seconds off. But right now, Mould is absolutely under major pressure here, and therefore absolutely having to try and keep this all together after running away. But then we look to the battle for P3, and Mikey Doble just absolutely trying to shove the cork back in the proverbial bottle as they come on through Clark's corner, in the fact that Kieran Smart is not giving him whatsoever, and McCluskey, Guthrie, Downing and Meredith are all right there. Also Winus as well. You can see him there right in the rear of the picture of the Track Scotland car, the one in the blue and orange combination, to be differentiated from Smart's car, which is the blue and light green combination. And well, the last time we went to Knockhill, many of you may remember, it was absolute dominance from John Higgins Jr., who took all the 3 wins here at the Scottish circuit, his home circuit as well, and will therefore, I think, the family's home circuit, and an absolutely brilliant day there. And it does seem as though in Knockhill, Scottish drivers absolutely thrive. But as Mikey Doble makes his way down through turns 1, 2 and into 3, the 88 driver here just trying to keep Smart behind a little bit longer. But then coming back to that Am Lee battle, where it does look as though the battle has opened back up again, with Pitt and Fox making the way on through, and therefore I would say that Dylan Hunter has perhaps just been elbowed down a little bit by the rising prime and also pro drives of Pitt and Fox, albeit he won't be too upset about that, because he'll know that if they're going to pass him, eventually they'll have to try and pass Marcel Fritsch, and he'll be hoping they pass him sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, looking back further in the Anfield, we can see side by side there between prime driver of Sam Smith and William Kurtler. A little bit of internet connectivity issues there for Smith, so Kurtler backs off and gives a bit more room for the potential reappearance of the Irish Esports Elantra. Does well there, does Kurtler, but now he's got Daniel Fritz for company. Sean Doby ends up being pushed back behind these drivers as he looks to try and go hunting here in the number 159, and well, hopefully there'll be a big smile on his face so he can pull off the move. But Lee Horn there catches up behind us. Doby has a little bit of a wobble coming on through Clark, and that's going to give Lee Horn the opportunity to come through, and Sean Doby there just carrying too much speed, and the understeer send him straight on, and a frustrating moment there for the 159 driver, but more to come. But as he heads up towards turn number 9, well, we know the laps are gradually now starting to dwindle away, because we are onto lap number 18 for our leaders, and here are our leaders who are making their way through the hairpin right now. So they're coming on to put extra laps on the field, and indeed it won't be for too long before they catch up to the battle for P5 in the AM class as they come across the line. But you can see Mould now is starting to open that gap back up. He's got it up to half a second over Douglas, but Douglas is not flinching whatsoever. Meanwhile, behind them, this is Mikey Doble. He's going to back ahead of none other than Kieran Smart, the prime leader, and you can see the 4-pack here of Doble, Smart, McCluskey and Guthrie has broken away from the next pack of cars, as it's Meredith with Winus Having to go defensive there versus Daniel Downing, and Downing absolutely attacking here on the run towards the last quarter of this race. And it's no surprise, I get the feeling that Daniel Downing has been preserving the tyres on that Honda Civic tyre bar, because tyre wear has been very high here at Knockhill as well, from what I've been hearing from a number of drivers in the pre-practice session, the build-up to the racing today, and the fact they were saying that the tyres just go off so incredibly fast, and that's before you consider any success balance. It seems over the 22 laps they just wear down. It's a very aggressive circuit, and we'll speak of aggression here. Daniel Downing's going to look to the inside and show some aggression of his own, but Windy's their defence on the outside. It's going to be a battle on the brakes. The Honda's the better, but if Windy's going to keep the outside line, he gives himself more radius with which to be able to get the power down eventually, given the fact that Downing has to commit to a tight line, and Windy does exactly that, and you can see now the Elantra just able to claw its way back ahead. But here comes Downing looking up the inside here with 3 laps to go. Can't quite find it this time around as they make the way down the hill and in towards McIntyre's, but through the right-hander and up towards Butchers they go. From them we look back to Adam Delman chased after Duncan Moraes and Russell Fowler as they fight over the final spot of the Pro-Am podium, do Fowler and Moraes, but it is Russell Fowler who holds on to it right now for the Vrano team, as we do see the Vrano Esports driver doing everything in his power to keep that hunt alive for a little bit longer. But Moraes is absolutely throwing everything at this, looking around the outside here into Clark. It's not a normal place to look for a move, but he can throw a dummy there, get Fowler offline, and it's going to be Moraes now looking for the cutback run. But that Audi, this is the one place where that Audi could get a good pull out of Clark. It could really start to open up the legs just for a little period, and it's enough to keep it alive. We can see Moraes looking around the outside. It's going to be bold. He's going to go all the way with the Honda, but in the end just finds himself coming up a little bit short. That Audi's able to hold on. Oh, goodness me! There's contact, and Duncan Moraes is sent to the grass. Contact there with none other than what's Adam Delman, and Delman will be kicking himself for that one. I think the two drivers just simply crossed it paths as they make the way onto the penultimate lap of this race. An absolutely incredible race it has been, and meanwhile coming back towards your leaders, let's stay with them there as they make the way onwards towards the final lap. Surely this is Dan Mould for SO NXTGEN Gold, and behind him is Wayne Douglas, and Douglas right now is not giving any ground whatsoever. He is literally all over the back of Mould as they make the way onto one final lap. We jump over the top there of with the number 66, it makes its way down the start-finish straight. The white flag waves. It's lap 22 of 22, and the gap standing at 4 attempts at this point. 2 drivers, neither one has success bars, both in equal machinery. It all comes down to driver ability, and in the early stage of the race, Dan Mould broke away, but Douglas has caught back up as they head through Butchers and into the chicane. And well, for Douglas here, you've got a face full of Veloster in front. You've got to be absolutely committed. You see Mould there just making a small mistake, as it's going to be Douglas up the inside, goes all in into Clark, can't quite find it, and Mould was very, very committed there to his line. Douglas trying to get Mould to simply back out and open the door up, but it wasn't to be. And could that have been it as they head up towards what will be Taylor's corner? Hard on the brakes goes Mould. He's got a car in front of him to give him a little bit of a tow. Remember, it's a shorter run to the finish. There's the checker flag already. And well, it has been a strong race, and it's going to be a scintillating race as Dan Mould takes victory overall ahead of Wayne Douglas. And it'll be Mikey Doble who takes home in the end what will be P3, the 88 driver, holding on despite the success bars. Benjamin McCluskey P4, and then on a home soil, Kieran Smart takes victory in the Pro-Am class for Track Scotland ahead of William Guthrie and Alex Meredith, with his teammate making it a 1-2 for Track Scotland. Stuart Wine is P8 overall, but P2 in the Pro-Am class. Daniel Downing and Tom Davidson complete your top 10. Isaac Doublefish is best of P11. We've then got Russell Fowler down in P15, who takes the final spot on the Pro-Am podium. But what about the Am class? As you can see, there's Dylan Hunter, but ahead of him as Hunter's been given the elbow out there by Jake Pitt. It's Marcel Fritsch. He does enough, and he holds on to take Am victory. P30 overall, with Hunter in the end being separated from Fritsch by Jake Pitt, but Dylan Hunter still his best result of the season, a P2 in the Am class, P32. The DH Racing driver, and Craig Tillerson takes P35 overall, but more importantly for him, it's a P3 in the Am class, and Daniel Fritsch just misses out on the Am podium. P4 in class just behind him, ahead of Sean Doby, who in the end made it to P5 in the Am class, and William Kirtler just behind P38. But my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute rock and roll ride here at the Knockhill circuit for the first half 3 races for today, and I suspect it's only going to get bumpier as the day of racing goes on. But we've cloudy skies, but no rain in sight. We've seen some absolutely incredible races so far as all the drivers very quickly make their way into the pit lane. But as they do, the one man who'll be savouring this moment because he knows he'll be under a lot of pressure in race number 2 of the day, Marcel Fritsch, P30, but for the Rhino Academy driver, a win is a win in the AM class, and he will savour it as it's a bit of a traffic jam now. Oh, goodness me! All the drivers trying to come into the pits, and I figured in there might be a few cars that might have to now be towed to the pits, given the knocks they've had, and will Rhino Academy making it a double podium with Craig Tillotson at P3 in the AM class, but separated by the DH Racing driver of Dylan Hunter. Well, as we take a look to the scenic view, ladies and gents, when those results are in, and let's take a look at the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. One incredible first race of the day, no doubt about it, for round 6 of season 8 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. But after 22 laps of racing, Dan Mould took victory for SO and NXTGEN Gold by 6/10 over main rival Douglas Motorsports' Wayne Douglas. Mikey Doble completed the overall podium, P3 for Doble Sim Racing, doing well to hold on to that spot despite the pressure from Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink. Also prime winner Kieran Smartfish P5 for Track Scotland, William Guthrie P6 for Full Tilt Motorsport, and Alex Meredith P7 there for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners. P8 there, Stuart Winess, the Track Scotland driver, bringing home P2 in the Pro-Am class, and Track Scotland bringing home their first 1-2 in the Pro-Am class this season. They'll be absolutely ecstatic at that. Indeed, that is a huge points injection in the Teams Championship campaign, let alone their Drivers' Championship campaigns, respectively. Well done to them on home turf. Daniel Danning, P9 for Goldwing Motorsport, ahead of Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective, and one of the silent risers of this race, Tom Davidson, to make his way to P10. He'll carry a little bit of success past into race number 2, but he won't be too upset about that. Isaac Doble, P11, best the rest of Doble Sim Racing after a difficult qualifying session, with Ben Altrier, P12 for Motorsport, ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula. The NXTGEN Pink driver 9, it was all about just getting some points in this race, getting the success ballast in the car, but you will be very wary of the fact that Mikey Doble finishing P3, despite the fact they've got very close success ballast, means that for Cebula, races 2 and 3 where he's got to make up the damage. Andrew Pyatt finished P14, the TSRC driver, just ahead of Russell Fowler, who finished P15, so taking the final overall points of Verano Esports, but also on top of that, bringing home the 3rd place spot on the Pro and podium behind the Track Scotland drivers. Adam Delman, P16 there. Fending off was a late charge with Gavin Gardner, with Nick Clibbins coming home in P18, and then there was more on the table for this first race of the day in the 013 car, but also a few bumps along the way kept him at bay. And there was Joe Doble and Sam Van Olst who completed your top 20. Outside the top 20, Reese Watt was P21 for JW Motorsport ahead of teammate Michael Lease, with Jamie Dory in the end taking P23 after a difficult qualifying session. Didn't really make too much progress, made some progress, but not enough to get some key points. Ben Gregory, P24 ahead of Duncan Rise in their brilliant battle all the way to the very end, with Sam Bradley just behind them by 2 seconds, P26, and then to round off the top 30, it was Matthew Sheraton, Lewis Delmont, Andy Fox, and Marcel Fritsch. Speaking of whom, the Verano Academy driver taking that P30, your AM winner, with he and his rival Dylan Hunter being separated by Jake Pitt, the Pro-Am driver Aztec Racing, sandwiches his way between the two of them, and then we find Dylan Hunter in P32. From the DH Racing driver, who notched his best AM result of the season so far, we have Sam Swift P33 ahead of Lee Horn, with Craig Tillotson P35 taking the final AM podium position for Verano Academy. It was a double podium for the Verano Academy team. And then we can see P4 in the AM class, Daniel Fritz P36 overall, having started from P49 on the grid. Well done to him for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners. He was just ahead of Sean Doby, with William Curtler then P38, and your top 40 being completed by the combination of Mark Sykes and Jonathan Collins, the first 2 of our drivers to finish a lap down for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners. It was also a lap down to Gabriel Yilmaz and Alan McCain, and also to Kevin Smith in P43. 2 laps down to Callum Murray on his debut. He'll be hoping for more in race number 2. And we also saw 2 laps down to Josh Browner, frustrating first race of the day. And unfortunate retirements for James Spencer-Scow, Sammy Reba, Luca Monroe, and last but not least, Lewis Mason. So we've had one race, we've still got plenty more to come, however, ladies and gentlemen, race number 2 just being around the corner. We're going to step away for a brief moment for approximately what will be 7 to 8 minutes, but when we do come back, we will be only minutes away from gridding up to race number 2, and let us know what's been your favourite moment so far, and what your expectations are for our second race of the day here at the Knockhill Racing Circuit. But until then, we're back shortly, but not without a word from our title sponsor for this season, and that being Doble Motorcycles. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you'll receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As quickly as race 1 has finished, we're back for the build-up to race number 2 of Season 8 of round 6. Well, I should say round 6 of Season 8 of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship. Such is the way the race is coming so thick and fast, it's making me jumble my words more often than not tonight, and I do apologise for that. But what we don't apologise for here at Next Gen Racing is the incredible race in action we're seeing at the Knockhill Racing Circuit as we charge away into race number 2 of the day. As we do, for many it was a great race, but for some there was a lot left on the table and some frustrations as well, perhaps none more so than for Andy Fox of Doble Motorcycles, who found himself once again suffering from the curse, it would seem, of early race incident really blighting his race, and that really has been the story of his last couple of rounds. But the Doble Motorcycles driver hasn't given up yet. We've still got 2 more races to go, and you never know what could come before all is said and done. And indeed, if he can make his way inside the top 23 in our second race a day, well, we could definitely see will be an opportunity for Fox, or indeed any drivers inside that top 23, to make their way onto a reverse grid pole, and that can completely flip the complexion of the final race of the given round of the NXTCC when we do have our triple header night. But as he makes his way onto another lap, we also do look to other drivers around the field, including Sam Bradley, who found himself right in the thick of it in the number 69 car for SO NXTGEN Golden Race number 1, doing plenty of battles amongst his rivals, and we saw many of the SO NXTGEN Gold cars enjoyed some fantastic racing out there, whether it be in the mid-pack or turning right at the front of the field. And of course, none other than your race winner in race 1, Dan Mould, who in the end, despite the pressure on Wayne Douglas, you can see they're right with him as they make their way around this practice session, this final warm-up. Well, the 2 drivers here follow each other, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wayne, as in Wayne Douglas right now, maybe watching the rear of Dan Mould's car to see where he might be gaining the time. Keep in mind, of course, the success balance has now been updated, and these 2 are running the maximum possible weights available with regards to success balance. It's 56.1 kilograms there for Wes Dan Mould, and meanwhile for Wayne Douglas, it's the best part of 49 kilograms. Now, as the drivers make the way and get themselves set, well, let's see if we can grab a quick word with one of the drivers in the build-up to our second race a day. And in terms of who we might be able to get a word from, we're just seeing who's available, ladies and gentlemen. It gives us a brief moment, and a lot of the drivers, I believe right now, are getting their heads down and may not be ready available to have a chat. With regards to those who are, when we can get a word, we will. But as they make their way on around, we do look to Kieran Smart, our winner from race number 1 in the Pram class. We'd love to get a word in with the number 39 driver, but I don't think we're going to get the opportunity, as currently they're not allowing patches to their cars. But it'd be great to hear his thoughts on what was definitely a tremendous race 1. Unfortunately, not taking overall podium, but still, I think he'll be very happy with what was that Prime win, and indeed leading home a 1-2 for Track Scotland in the Prime class, and also a top 5 finish overall. Those are hard to come by when you are a Prime driver. As we make our way into race 2, the clouds are still here, and indeed the track temperature has not changed too much. Ambient temperature hasn't changed too much. In fact, I think in terms of the temperatures that we can bring you on screen, if you look to the right hand side of your screen, you'll notice there we do have a 19 degrees centigrade track temperature. It will rise a bit as more tarmac is trampled on by drivers, and it's 80 degrees centigrade ambient temperature. No sign of rain today. High humidity, that's a reflection of the cloud layers there. But otherwise, I think all the drivers will be absolutely pleased with the conditions, and therefore it means they can just focus on the racing out there and give it their all. As the weather display disappears for the day, and we look back to what is the racing. We're not quite going to get a word of our drivers this time around, but we definitely will in the build-up to race number 3. And always we do say hello to what is Mark Kent again there in YouTube chat, saying let's get some likes on the broadcast. We always do appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying the broadcast, feel free to give it a like, and do let us know how much you enjoyed it so far and who you're cheering on for race number 2, because we are only moments away for our second race today, and with all the weight out the car now for this man, Jaroslaw Cebula for Next Gen Pig. Can he find his way up through the field after a P13 finish in race number 1? Well, arguably on paper, he needs to do some big damage in race number 2, and I mean damage in terms of earning points and damage to this man who's charging away, Mikey Doble, who was the Doble Sim Racing driver in the 88, despite second place success bars to that Audi to a P3 finish, and that definitely seems to show that he has got the edge here at Knockhill compared to Cebula. Well, for all that and more, we're only just around the corner, and meanwhile, can this man, Dylan Hunter, denied a win in race 1 in the AM class after the defensive skills and also the interference of other drivers, but the defensive skills in particular of Marcel Fridge. But number 26 driver. Now he's got some weight in the car, but not as much as Fridge. 16.6 kilograms now in Hunter's car versus the approximate 25 of Marcel Fridge's car. Could our American driver for DH Racing find a way to his first win of the season? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to find out. Well, as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they'll line up for race number 2 of the day. It is Dan Mould who starts off pole position once again for SO NXTGEN Gold. He is joined on the front row of the grid by Wayne Douglas for Douglas Motorsport. Behind the rivalry that's reignited between the two, Mikey Doble starts P3 for Doble Sim Racing and a slightly lighter car, but Neil's now still carrying a lot of weight and knowing that weight could hold him down when Benjamin McCluskey starts P4 alongside him for NXTGEN Pink. From them, we do have on what is road number 3, Kieran Smart, your pro-am winner from race number 1 for Track Scotland. He now starts there on what is going to be the third row of the grid, and he'll look to try and make it 2 out of 2, but he's got the company of William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport. Behind him on road number 4, Alex Meredith for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing had an absolutely brilliant drive in race 1. He'll be in the company of P8 starter Stuart Winus for Track Scotland, who will look to try and make it a 1-2 alongside Kieran Smart once again. And then we have Daniel Downing, P9 for Goldwyn Motorsport, ahead of Tom Davidson, with Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective to complete your top 10 and keep your eyes out for the 42 Honda Civic. We reckon he might be trying to spring a surprise in this race and perhaps make it into the top 5. Isaac Doble starts P11 for Doble Sim Racing, no weight in the car and therefore in the best possible position to start without success ballast, ahead of Ben Altria there, who starts P12 for Full Tilt Motorsport. And we see on the 7th row of the grid, it's Jaroslaw Cebula. Keep your eyes out for the Polish driver who'll look to try and charge his way through for NXTGEN Pink, albeit he's going to be in the tough company of Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective, who was neither there nor here in race number 1, but he might have a little bit more in the tank in race number 2 now the weight's out the car. Russell Fowler starts P at 15 for Verano Esports, the third place prime driver on this grid, ahead of Adam Delman for SO NXTGEN Gold, with Gavin Garner line-up P17 for NXTGEN Pink, ahead of Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports. Joe Doble starts this race P19 for Doble Sim Racing, ahead of Sam Van Olst to complete your top 20 for Goldwyn Motorsports, and behind the Belgian, it's none other than Reese Watt, who starts P21 for JW Motorsport. On the said 11th row of the grid, he's joined by the company of his teammate Michael Lees, and on row 12 behind, it's Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, head of P24 starter Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport. And as we continue to make our way down the order, it'll be on the 13th row for Duncan Rays, the South African driver for Goldwyn Motorsport, who found himself in some close-knit battling despite being outside the top 20, and I suspect there'll be plenty more of that with Sam Bradley, who lines up alongside him for SO NXTGEN Gold. Matthew Sheraton starts P27 for Aztec Racing, and what was a difficult race number 1, but running the vintage Renault tribute livery there, we can expect the 390 driver to give it his all, as will Lewis Delman for SO NXTGEN Gold, who starts alongside in P28. Completing your top 30, it's Andy Fox for Goldwyn Motorsport, 9, it's nothing to lose now, and he's in the company of Am pole sitter and winner from race number 1, Marcel Fritsch for Verano Academy. Jake Pitt starts P31 for Aztec Racing, the Welshman in the company of the American Dylan Hunter for DH Racing. As we said earlier, keep your eyes out for Hunter. If he can get a good start, he'll be chasing Fritsch all the way to turn 1. Sam Smith lines up P33 for iRacing Esports, and he'll be in the company of Lee Horn on that 17th row of the grid for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing. And then behind him, it's an all-AM row in the form of Craig Tillerson, your P3 AM starter, P35 for Verano Academy, ahead of Daniel Fritz for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, who having started from the back of the grid in race 1, what can he do from 4th place in the AM class in race number 2? Then we do see behind them on row number 19, Sean Doby for ATEC Racing and William Kurtler for Aztec Racing, with the top 40 being rounded out by Mark Sykes for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing and Jonathan Collins, his teammate. Behind the NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners cars, we do have Aztec Race's Gabriel Yilmaz and Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, and then we will have Kevin Smith line up P43 for Verano Academy, head of Callum Murray for SO NXTGEN Gold, who'll be looking for a better race number 2 after a frustrating race 1. Josh Brown starts P45 for National Racing Team, ahead of James Smaskersgal for Aztec Racing, after the two came together in the early stages of the race 1. On what is the penultimate row of the grid, it's Sammy Ariba, P47 for Quartmass Motorsport, ahead of Luca Monroe for United Sim Team. And then on the final row of the grid, starting P49, it is Aztec Racing's Lewis Mason. So 49 starters once again, ladies and gentlemen. We have got a short journey down towards turn number 1. All the drivers are ready to go. There's the distant camera shot, and Dan Mould is on the left. Wayne Douglas is on the right. It is going to be a run to be saved of whoever gets it right, but who will it be? Without further ado, it is time for the lights to go on once again as the cloud thickens here in Scotland. It's 1 red light, it's 2 red lights, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5. And it's lights out and away we go for the second time today. Plenty of wheel spin there from Dan Mould, but also a brilliant start. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble gets the better launch of the line compared to Wayne Douglas, as Douglas has to go defensive here into turn number 1 as they make the way over the crest now and down through Duffers, where it looks so they'll continue to run as they started. Further back, you can see that Alex Meredith to go very defensive into McIntyre as they make the way around. Meanwhile, the rest of the field, some gravel being pulled up. Carl White, Stuart Winus. Winus is off. He rejoins. He drops all the way down to P24. I suspect it's more to the story than meets the eye. We'll try and get an up down that when we can. Some more drivers running wide there. Carl going sideways into the chicane. That's going to come across the road. That's Andy Fox. Fox once again finds himself absolutely buffeted, and the Anfield comes charging into the chicane, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a safety car for that, ladies and gentlemen, in the fact there's been an absolute nightmare moment. I believe we have got a safety car for the first time here today in Scotland, and well, goodness me, a nasty incident, but very quickly we get the safety car out, and well, after one lap the racing will be neutralised, and it is Dan Mould who is your race leader as they cross that line ahead of Wayne Douglas with Mikey Doble P3, Benjamin Kuski P4, Kieran Smart your Pro-Am leader P5 ahead of William Guthrie, Alex Reddiff P7, Tom Davidson P8, Isaac Dole P9 and Daniel Down in completion top 10 ahead of Ben Altria who's best there as P11. Meanwhile, in the AM class, Dylan Hunter has made it into the AM lead. He's P31, with Marcel Fritsch a long way back. In fact, I think he might have been collected in the Andy Fox incident into the chicane. But as we are now under the safety car, we have plenty of time to discern what exactly happened. And well, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with taking a look back at what was the race start from Dylan Hunter's perspective. We are under safety car conditions for the meantime, and this was launch off the line. Now you'll see Marcel Fritsch, who starts directly in front. Hunter actually had a very slow start off the line, and well, Lee Horn made his way around, and I think Hunter, by having that slow start, may have actually backed up a good chunk of the field behind him, given the fact they might have all been a bit tentative to try and go around or make it 2-3 wide. But what happened is, so up the inside there, that's by the iRacing Esports cars. Fritsch has a very poor run through Duffers, so therefore actually finds himself under a lot of pressure into turn number 3, and this is where things are going to get very testy. Hunter, meanwhile, staying on the outside, and as they come through turn number 5 into 6, into the chicane, well, here's where it all goes a bit chaotic. Hunter goes around the outside, avoids it all, and well, meanwhile, Marcel Fritsch gets collected in the carnage, and well, that explains the story. But let's take a look at what happened to Stuart Winus at the start with his adventure, which saw him drop a long way down the order, and well, this was coming through turn 1, contact there side by side. I believe that was with the car Jaroslaw Cebula, and well, as a result, Winus, I think, coming loose and rejoining eventually, but a nightmare start for the 61 driver. In the end, managed to find his way back into the running order. What happened here? Oh, good thing. There's Fox losing the route after some contact with the Pro-Am car of what was, I think it was the NXTGEN Gold car of Sam Bradley. We'll try and see what happened there, but Winus was able to avoid the nightmare. I think that was Bradley. Here we get a replay looking particularly at Sam Bradley's car. You can see him there side by side with Fox. Both drivers go into Butchers. Contact between the two. Bradley's sent on, Fox is sent round, and Andy Fox in the end tries to get the car stopped before it rolls back on, but the field starts to make their way through over a blind apex, and they all pile in the yellow flag by then. Well, if one was waving, they would never have seen that. They wouldn't have had the reaction time. And when we take a look at what happened there from Jonathan Collins' perspective, this was the NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners driver who wasn't a bit of contact there coming out of Butcher's corner, well, out of McIntyre's into Butcher's. Over the crest he went, and all the field's already stacking up. And in the end, Collins, well, he's been pushed forward by the car behind, so in the end, he's been pinballed up the order, and well, that explains the story. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back now to what is your pictures. And next time around, we will see the safety car come in, so we will resume the racing on lap number 5. And, well, as the drivers make their way through, you couldn't have put it better, Mark Kent, in the YouTube chat, in the fact that for Andy, as in Andy Fox, he really has had a season where he just cannot catch a break. And, well, another opening lap incident that has seen Andy Fox relegated to the back of the field, but I believe they've been able to get the car repaired. He is at the back of the running order, and therefore he's now got all the hard work to do to try and carve his way through over the remaining race distance. But as Mole begins to back the field up, well, we can see him there. We'll bring the dashboard up in the bottom right corner of your screen. The safety car being allowed to run away. Remember, they're not allowed to go racing effectively. And, well, they are allowed to go back up to speed, but the racing only resumes technically when that safety car has come across the pit entry line. So Mole, therefore, backing the field up. I suspect he's going to spring and go coming out the final corner, and he does exactly that. And we are green flag racing once again, ladies and gentlemen, as it is Dan Mould who manages to get a slight launch on Wayne Douglas coming out of Taylor's. And on to lap number 5 we go. But remember, overtaking not permitted until drivers go to the pits. But not coming to the pits, I should say, as Andrew Pike takes over my minds there and makes his way into the pit lane. So I wonder where he's picked up some damage, and he's only had the chance to now come in and get it fixed, which if so, that's going to put him a long way down the running order. And this is a drive-through penalty for a misdemeanor of some description. And well, in fact, Pike's all the way down the order into P36 now. And while the drivers make the way on through, we are back racing here at Knockhill, and that's a poor run from Daniel Down. And Metal Tree's going to look around the outside. inside as they come in towards turn number 7. Will try to go defensive, and Jaroslaw Cebula says, well, let's make it 2, and 2 cars go around the one Doble Motorsport Honda as they pile their way down the railway curve and up towards what will be Taylor's, but as they do, Gavin Gardner now. Daniel Dan is absolutely struggling. I wouldn't be surprised that's perhaps a slowdown entwined in amongst that, and as they make the way through the corner, you can see Joe Doble going around the outside, and Downey is absolutely struggling as Adam Delman also picks up a place here. They're absolutely swarming the Doble Motorsport drivers into the pits. There's something wrong with that car, and well, that might be his race over as far as the distance goes. Meanwhile, Stuart Winus, after that nightmare start to his race, well, he's up into P4 in the Pro-Am class once again and is trying to pick his way through. Sam Olsen, Russell Fowler, just in front of him, albeit separated between them, is Nick Clemens, the RS Esports Audi RS3, the number 013, which he'll want to try and find his way through as the cars glide their way through the chicane once again. A couple of cars off onto the gravel in the rear of the picture for a brief moment, including Sam Bradley's SO NXTGEN Gold 69 Honda as they come on out. But it looks so going well there. We've had a driver run off. I believe that was Nick Clemens who's taken the trip to the gravel. That's enabled Winus to move up to B17. So Winus has made his way on past the pro driver, but as our drivers come on through into the hairpin, or at the hairpin, Joe Doble up the inside of Gavin Gardner. A nice move being made there, but look at Gardner immediately coming back, and well, it's now going to be a drag race here between the 2 Audi drivers, both without success ballast, with I think Gardner carrying a small amount of success ballast now that I look back at it. And as I head in towards turn number 1, well, Adam Delmont is on the back of this, and where has Adam Delmont been since what is the early stage of the season? That is a big question. Well, he's here battling now for what is the scraps to the points in the pro class, but the problem is for the SO NXTGEN Gold driver, he needs plenty more to keep his championship hunt well and truly alive, and this is a frustrating place to be when you know that you've got the pace to be a champion, but the races are just not lined up and the rounds don't line up either. We're just a bit further behind. Michael Lease on the inside there, and Nick Clemens, who right now has been muscled down the order by the Pro-Am pack around him. A frustrating race here for what is Clemens, and was a charge that wound down. Meanwhile, you can see that Duncan Rise also trying to get involved as Lease defending on the inside. He'll really try to force the door open on the inside, we should say as well, defending and attacking at the same time. It really is a multitask situation. 3 wide they go as they exit Taylor's, but it will soon be the Audi that just pulls away, and Lease now having to worry about Marais more and more. And we can see the Doble Motorsport Honda looking up the inside. Meanwhile, behind, that's Ben Gregory, who decides not to make it 3 wide. I think that's a very sensible approach, and Lease absolutely under huge pressure as we look back from the rear, but up the inside, takes another sneak peek from Duncan Rise, but he can't quite find it, and therefore has to back off there, but off that racing line. That's going to cost him a bit of time, and cause this pack now to run back into line astern formation as they head in towards Clark Curve. But in towards turn number 7 they go, and as they do, we look back to the AM class, and here's Dylan Hunter leading the AM class right now, and well, I think there's going to be a big grin on his face, so he'll be similar to his profile picture as he comes on through where it's turn 7, and now up towards turn number 9, and the 26 driver for DH Racing will be looking to try and bring this home for what will be an absolutely huge result. But as he comes in towards turn 9, we look back up towards the front, and it's Wayne Douglas versus Mikey Doble. That's coming through Duffus and in towards Warning's McIntyres, and Douglas is right there defending and attacking as Mikey Doble has found his way on through recently, and I believe it's been on the start finish straight that he's been able to make the run coming out the hairpin all the way through. But Doble right now is absolutely hustling here to try and break away, and he doesn't want Dan Mould to run away with this, given the fact that Mould is only what is 1.3 seconds up the road, and they've got the best part of what is 13 laps remaining in this race. You would imagine that right now, if you're in Mikey's shoes, he'll be feeling as though he can potentially go after the win in this race to add to his P3 in race 1, given he's got the best part of what is about 17 kilograms less success ballast in the car compared to Mould, and that is going to be a huge difference, albeit different machinery, and that Veloster has gone very well here today so far, so therefore Doble has got the hard work cut out for him as they go on to lap number 10. As they come down, we take a look back as to how Mikey Doble made that move. If we have got the replay footage available, we will try and get it very shortly, and I believe, ladies and gentlemen, here is the footage as to how the move was made. So it was at the hairpin on lap number 8 to go on to lap number 9. Side by side they battled then, heading up towards Duffers Dip, and as they roared around free, you can see there the Audi gradually starting to inch its way ahead a little bit and being on that inside line. Well, Wayne Douglas was never going to back out, neither was Mikey Doble, but in the end somebody had to back out, and well, Douglas was the one who had to step out of that battle, and the field all in the end made it on through, and well, Mikey made his way up into P2. But coming back to your live racing pictures, and we look back here to what is the pack of cars where Stuart Winus, in fact, has found his way past all of this, and well, Winus has been making a lot of progress. Now, how has he made that progress? We're not sure. We'll come to the replay footage to explain, but what we can tell you is that this is for effective P3 in the Prime class, and you can see Russell Fowler, after taking that third place spot in Prime in race 1, he's trying to do it again, but he does seem to be really building a queue of cars behind as Van Alst and Clemens look to exchange some words there as they come down towards turn 1, and the 73 of Fowler right now absolutely glued to holding on to position as they make the way through the corners behind Michael Lee, still side by side with Duncan Rice. All these two are absolutely glued to each other. They've been side by side for most of the lap so far. They're going to go side by side for the chicane, surely not. Oh my good lord, and will they make it on through? There's a bit of contact, but there I think they've done incredibly well to survive the parapet. Ben Gregory says don't mind if I do, and Michael Lees will be saying, well come on pal, I've just made it back onto the circuit. As the wipers go on, there's gravel everywhere and there's elbows out between the two of them. Well, I think the two are seeing red slightly. Keep it clean lads, you're having a great race so far, don't spoil it as they come up in towards Taylor's. But what a battle there through the chicane. I mean, both drivers in the end did not give in, but that is what Knockhill's all about. And will Michael Lees will look back at that one and think, okay, I've lost the places, but I've survived, but it's too wide for the chicane, and not many can live to tell the tale of that one as they come onto another lap. And Duncan Brace, meanwhile, well, I think he's going to look back at that and think, you know what, we sent it and it worked out that time. I may not want to do it again anytime soon as they make the way through, but that was a P5 in the Prime class. But meanwhile, we look up the road, and this is jumping on board with Sam Van Alst, who the Audi driver right now in a battle with two Audis. He's trying to find his way past Russell Fowler, who is really struggling at this point in the race. And Van Alst all over the back of him, but can't find a way through. Now, is it the success failures for Russell Fowler, or is Fowler just finding he's not enjoying the conditions as much in race number 1? And therefore, Van Alst right now really has a golden opportunity to try and make his way on past. But the problem is Fowler is just making that Audi as wide as humanly possible. And as they power their way out of turn at number 9, we can see there both drivers getting a decent run of it, and in the end Van Alst will gradually catch up, but it's not a long enough straight, and therefore he's not going to be able to make an impact. Sammy Arriba leaves the pit lane, the Quartmaster Motorsport driver that's had a very difficult pair of races so far, and well, Van Alst battling with Fowler here, and they stay exactly as they were for the time being. I won't be surprised if we see an adventure very soon, but the big question is, how exactly did Stuart Winans make the moves to move up into P2 in the Prime class? Well, hold the phone here, there's going to be another look from Van Alst as they head on in. Flash of lights there from Van Alst, he's trying to get into Fowler's head as much as possible. Fowler right now is dragging the car around. You can see Clemens is queuing up behind as they head upwards towards what will be turn number 9. And meanwhile, is that Josh Brown made his way on the grass there in the foreground? That's the second place championship driver coming into today, and it's all going wrong for Brown. Contact there for Fowler and Van Alst, and there's going to be Fowler turns sideways over the front end of none other than Wes Nick Clemens' car, and Fowler gets out of the way for Brown, but has to leave the car there and wait for the field to come on through. Well, I think the red mist might have descended a little bit there. I think there was some frustration for Van Alst, but also for Clemens, and I think Fowler was just trying to keep the car ahead, doing whatever he could, even if it meant taking some pace out of the race. We'll get a replay of that very shortly, as meanwhile Joe Doble finds himself in the thick of things, of chasing after well, he's none other. Well, Jason after Ben will choose 2 seconds up the road, but up the inside goes Adam Delmont, and Delmont here, 9 right now, his championship hopes are really on the line today. If he doesn't pick up some big points in this race and race 3, he might as well start to think about another season where what could have been, given the way the points have gone. But they head in towards turn number 9. I don't say that lightly, given we're only in round 6 of the championship, but remember it was the heartbreak at Spa in round 5 in season 7 that sealed the deal for Adam Delmont, and he had a difficult time at the Nürburgring. He's having a difficult time here today, but meanwhile Joe Doble absolutely defending as hard as he can. That's Cebula looking around the outside, and well, the championship leader is going to go for it all the way through Duffers in towards McIntyre, but in the end Doble just about holds on, and here comes Delmont. Delmont's coming back here as we jump on board. It's going to be side-by-side contact between them, albeit it's going to be Delmont who has to back out there as they make the way on around, and Cebula having a run wide. Oh, goodness me, Cebula in the end having to go slightly defensive there, but I think also trying to catch the car. Delmont looks to go around the outside. He's going to go all for it. It is a good move from Adam Delmont for now, but as they make the way onwards towards Taylor's hairpin, well, will it be that way? You can see Cebula's still got a nose in. In the end has to back off, and Adam Delmont does take the P12, and that commitment is what we love to see from the SONX Gold driver. But coming out of the corner now onto the start for this straight, it's crazy to think we're already on to lap number 16. Stuart Winans at the back of this, he's actually charged his way on through, and we were going to get a replay of how he made his way up the order, and we're going to get a replay of a number of things, but the battling's so intensive right now, we're going to stay on your live pictures, and we see Winans absolutely caught between the next-gen pink sandwich, where on the front of him is Jaroslaw Cebula, behind him is Gavin Garner, but Winans is trying to pick up some more places overall and some more points for the Track Scotland team before this race is said and done. Meanwhile, looking back into the AM class, this is none other than Callum Murray, the SO Gold driver, who looks to try and chase after Sean Doble, and was he tucked in behind as we see a wounded car for Luca Monroe. I think that's suspension damage there. The front right suspension's collapsed. You can see some sparks coming off there. Well, Murray looking around the outside here versus Sean Doble. This is a P7 in the AM class. Can't quite find it at this time. Both drivers here giving it everything and enjoying a good little scrap. But as we jump on board and look down over the nose of the 899, well, can you look for a move as Doble gets it slightly sideways coming down. McIntyre's into Butcher. Well, it doesn't look as though there's a move, and now it's straight on between these two as they fight over P38, and Murray falls back for a time being. But the Scotsman of Doble just hold him off for now as they come out of Clark Court and onwards towards Taylor as they go. But as they roar their way through, William Kurtler 4 seconds back, so can't really get involved in this fight for now. But there you can see Mark Sykes and William Kurtler fight each other side by side. The battle of the two Audis is behind them. Well, unless I'm very much mistaken, that's your race leader overall who's coming through to lap them. And now this is going to be a headache and a half. Your name's Dan Mould as they come out of the hairpin. Mould there picks the wrong horse to back, taps through a Kurtler's car, flashing his lights. You can see Kurtler tucks in between the two of them, wanted to race Mark Sykes. Well, right now, if you're Mould, you've got to be panicking in that car for the simple reason you can see Douglas there further behind is also being pinched up. So is Mikey Doble, but now Doble trying to keep Douglas behind him as they on to lap number 18. And when it's a short circuit, it's a short lap. This was bound to happen at some point, but all these drivers now have got to be thinking about one thing as Mark Sykes takes the trip to the gravel off of the right of the picture. You'll see him rejoin potentially in a moment, or if not, as Douglas here continues to push on after what is Mikey Doble. You can see the whole lead pack making the way through. Musselbridge completely backs out of there, and Clark Kirby can't go any further in terms of how slow he's going. Can't park on the circuits. The Rhino Academy driver showing as much awareness as he possibly can for the lead pack coming through. But the leaders right now are not pulling any punches. They're all pushing. Oh my goodness, what on earth has happened there? I thought that was Lee Horn going very sideways. He's collected the car, the next generation risk runners, but there's gravel kicking up everywhere on our cameras, so somebody's got it very, very wrong. But Horn right now just trying to make his way away from Jake Peart as Andrew Pyatt looks around the outside there of what is a very slow moving Sam Bradley on Clark Corner at turn 7. And meanwhile, behind all this, Dylan Hunter, your AM leader, is caught up, and he's now caught in this battle, and behind him is Daniel Fritz, who started P4 in the AM class and right now is trying to take the AM win off of Hunter. And as they come out to Taylor's, the battle between all these primes and the pros in front could potentially cost Hunter the opportunity to have a very comfortable victory in the AM class as he looks to try and exchange blows here with Sam Bradley. And Bradley, being one of the AM drivers who's promoted from Season 7 to Pro-Am from AM, well, Hunter right now knows he's got a lot of work cut out. Oh, sideways goes Andrew Pike. Mike off into the barrier. It's all gone wrong for the TSRC Honda. The 57 hits the barrier, and well, with that, he'll be crawling back to the pit lane, I suspect. But Daniel Fritz has had a moment, and that has enabled Hunter to be able to walk away to the best part of the tune of what is 1.5 seconds. That gives him some breathing room, that does Hunter, as they make the way closer towards the end of this race. Meanwhile, looking back up towards the very front with Dan Mould now 1.5 seconds away. Mikey Doble trying to hold on for as long as he can as they make the way on through the chicane once again. We've got 2 more laps after this one, but you can see how the 88 of Doble, well, it's got enough speed to keep Douglas at bay on the straights, but in the corners, that velocity is absolutely venomous in terms of the fact it is sapping the life out of Doble's race. And as they head in towards turn number 9, well, Doble will have to go defensive and use all the power the Audi's got, but you can see that velocity is just able to get close, but onto the apex they go. And Doble right now will essentially do what we saw Russell Fowler doing earlier in his battle with Sam Van Ols, which is just drag the car through the corner and get the power down and force the velocity to have to just sit behind as they make the way onto the penultimate lap of race number 2 of the day. But across the line they go and into turn 1, and Douglas not close enough to think about a furtive move into Duffer's Dip, but you never know what could happen on the last lap. He's going to think about it here, comes in, there's contact, and Doble sent sideways into the gravel, rejoins, but Wayne Douglas coming in blazing hot there, and well, I think that was opportunities have got a bit too far, and well, Doble's pushed back to P5 in what's going to be a frustrating moment. You can see there McCluskey moves into P2, and in fact I think Douglas is backing off there to give the place back to Doble, knowing that he went a bit too far. Well, great racing respect shown there. I think Doble's not really too pleased he's missed out on a potential double podium here, although never say never, because McCluskey and Guthrie are now starting to fight for P2, but that means that Dan Mould right now, barring a mistake, surely has got this race wrapped up in the bag. flag. As they head on to the final lap, the white flag waves, and our drivers make the way onwards as McCluskey leads Guthrie in the battle for P2. Meanwhile, in the Prime class, it is Kieran Smart, currently P6 overall. Here's your Prime leader, with teammate Stuart Wine in second place down in P13, and he's got a little bit of pressure behind of what is Sam Van Olst, albeit Van Olst is the best part of 3 seconds back, so it is distant pressure. And meanwhile, in the AM class, Dylan Hunter right now does still have the best part of 2 seconds between himself and Daniel Fritz to bring home what will be his first ever AM win. So the race absolutely charges on, and well, as it does so, this race now starting to calm down a little bit in the closing stages. And as we do look to what is Dan Mould, well, what can we say here as he comes up behind some traffic, but that traffic is not going to interfere this time. And for Dan Mould, what a race it has been. In qualifying, he took pole by quite the margin. In race number 1, despite the efforts of Wayne Douglas, he held on, but in race number 2, he's been untouchable, and Dan Mould makes it 2 out of 2 here at Knockhill, ahead of what was Benjamin McCluskey and William Guthrie to complete the podium. Mikey Doble P4, Wayne Douglas P5, Kieran Smart makes it back-to-back wins in the Prime class of Track Scotland, P6 head of Alex Meredith, and then Tom Davidson, Isaac Doe and Ben Ulcher complete your top 10. It'll be Joe Doble finishes P11, the first of the place without success, but as head of Jaroslaw Cebula. Stuart Wynis finishes P13, runner-up in the Prime class. It's another 1-2 for Track Scotland, and he's the first driver who's guaranteed to be in the reverse grid. And then we do see further on back what is the run to AM victory, and for Dylan Hunter, who is going to be a one to savour as he takes his first AM victory of the season for DH Racing here at Knockhill, and the 26th driver will be absolutely jubilant in that car, ahead of what was Daniel Fritz, who finished P29, 2 places behind second place, but gave Dylan a run for his money every step of the way. And Craig Tillotson, once again, he seems to be Mr. Third place in the AM class today, because he's made it another P3 in AM, P31 overall for Runner Academy, and what has been an incredible race. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of our 2 major championship contenders in the AM class, in the form of Marcel Fritz, who end up in a major shunt, and also Josh Brown, who in the end had to retire the car, well, the rest of the AM field has not absolutely wasted that opportunity. They've gone all in on it, there's no doubt about it. But as Dylan makes his way into the pit lane, Dylan Hunter absolutely ecstatic. You can see the flash of the lights when he's making his way through Duffers. He knows that it's one to enjoy, and in fact, I think he's going to take his time into the pits here and just enjoy his little moment in the spotlight. And to be fair, ladies and gentlemen, how could we deny it from him in the fact that he has driven perfectly? And after a frustrating into race number 1, race number 2 is exactly where it all came true for the number 26 Veloster. But as we do look to the scenic view, let's take you through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are for race number 2 of round 6 of season 8 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles. Dan Mould took victory then, 2 wins back-to-back for SO and NXTGEN, the SO and NXTGEN Gold driver, and taking victory by 4 seconds over the Northern Irishman of Benjamin McCluskey. Next Gen Pink driver leading the home run to P2 ahead of William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport, who returns to the podium once again. And then Mikey Doble finishing P4 for Doble Sim Racing, knowing that a podium was denied to him from that contact with Wayne Douglas, but still a P4 is a great result and some absolutely critical points. Speaking of Wayne Douglas, P5 there behind Doble, and the Douglas Motorsport driver then followed up by Track Scotland for Track Scotland's Kieran Smart, who was your winner in the Prime class and makes it 2 wins out of 2 so far today on his home soil in class. P7, Alex Meredith for Next Gen Orange Wheelsky runners. A quiet race, it would seem, for the Elantra driver in the number 19, but still a race where he'll pick up some good points, and that will give him some good foundations to move forward into our final race of the day. Tom Davidson, P8, the Sim Racing Collective driver, making up a couple of places after that P10 start. And then to complete the top 10, it was Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Ben Ulcher for Full Tilt Motorsport. Doble Sim Racing's Joe Doble, P11 there, best of the rest, ahead of Next Gen Pink's Jaroslaw Cebula, who made some progress, but nowhere near as much as he would like to. So a bit of an awkward race there, and therefore points not coming his way. And it was Stuart Wynis, P13, runner-up in the Prime class for Track Scotland, and therefore another 1-2 for the team, but doing it the hard way after that lap 1 off track. In P14, it was Gavin Garner for Next Gen Pink ahead of Sam Van Olst, who rounded off the Prime podium and the overall top 15 for Goldwyn Motorsport. Congratulations to him for making it to P3 in the Prime class, just ahead of teammate Duncan Rays. And then we saw Adam Dillon P17 ahead of Ben Gregory, with the top 20 being completed by Nick Clearins and Lewis Delmont. Jamie Dory, P21 ahead of Matthew Sheraton, with Sam Smith finishing P23 and then last of the eligible reverse grid positions. Lee Horn was P24 ahead of Jake Pitt. Then Michael Elise, P26 for JWM Motorsport after the open lap instance. A frustrating race there, but still the Britons got more to come in the final race of the day. Speaking of more to come, we saw plenty in race 1, but we saw even more in race number 2, and will we see even more in race number 3 for Dylan Hunter, the DH Racing driver, taking his first AM win ahead of Sam Bradley, and then finishing run-up in the AM class, Daniel Fritz for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners, in a great chase after Dylan Hunter, but in the end, with traffic and also Hunter's pace, Fritz just was not quite able to find a way to get a step ahead. Russell Fowler, P30 Verano Esports, we absolutely gutted to have missed out on a chance to fight for a top 5, if not a podium, in the Pro-Am class in this race after that contact with Sam Van Olst early on at Taylor's Hairpin. And then P31, third place finisher in the AM class, Craig Tillison, makes it 2 P3s in class out of 2 for Verano Academy. Alan McCain finished just behind him, P32 ahead of Gabriel Yilmaz, with Lewis Mason completing the AM top 5 behind his Aztec Racing teammate. And we see Kevin Smith at P35 for Verano Academy ahead of Andrew Pike in a very difficult race for the Sim Racing Collective driver, with Sean Dowie being the last of our lead lap finishers, P37. Off of the lead lap to complete the top 40 a lap down, Marcel Fritsch, Callum Murray and William Kurtler. Outside the top 40, Luca Munro ahead of Andy Fox. Then we saw Jonathan Collins and Sammy Reba also finish a lap down to P44. And behind the Quartmaster Motorsport driver, 2 laps down was James Smassersgow, with 4 laps down to Daniel Downing, 5 down to Mark Sykes. And then we also came to 7 laps down for Reswap, with Josh Brown finishing 10 laps down as classified for National Racing Team at P49 in a very difficult race to stomach for one of the main AM Championship contenders. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes race number 2. And well, the big question now is, as we get ready for race number 3, is where will we see that reverse grid made from? Well, without further ado, we do cut to the commentary booth, and good evening to you all. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the racing so far. And I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know which way to look. It's been that intense. But as always, in front of us, we have the NXTGEN Racing Lottery Bowl. And very shortly, what I'm going to do is close my eyes and draw 2 balls from the bowl. Whatever numbers are added together out of those 2, that's where we reverse the grid from. So without further ado, let's do the reverse grid draw. And without further ado, in fact, we'll do a bit more shuffling there. We take our hand out and put it back in for the first ball of the draw. And it is going to be the number 8, which makes another appearance this season. It made an appearance on the previous reverse grid draw for round number 4, if my memory serves me correctly. So it's going to be a moderate reverse grid at the minimum. But what will be joining the number 8? Let's see. And we draw our second ball out of the bowl. And it is going to be the number right next to it. We're getting a lot of this season. It is the number 9, which means we have got a top 17 reverse grid. And Adam Delmont finds himself lined up on pole position for the final race of the day. And he'll be in the company of Pro-Am pole sitter P2 on the grid, Duncan Rise, with Goldwyn Motorsports, Sam Van Olst, his teammate, line up P3 behind him. So could it be a big moment for Goldwyn Motorsports? Could it be Adam Delmont's time to shine and salvage something out of a difficult day at Knockhill? Well, for all that and more, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to come back in approximately 9 to 10 minutes time to find out. We will see you very shortly after a word from our title sponsor, Doble Motorcycles. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. Well, ladies and gents, and we've had an incredible race one, an absolutely intense race two, and would you believe it, we're already back for race number 3 as quick as can be. And well, race number 2 saw double winners in both the overall and pram categories, with Dan Mould bringing home what was an absolutely dominant win in race number 2 overall, with the chase of Mikey Doble in the end being blunted somewhat by Wayne Douglas, and we did see the two of them fall by the wayside compared to some of their rivals. And well, come the end of race number 2, it was none other than, the result that went the way for P2 of Benjamin McCluskey and just behind William Guthrie. But that was overall, and in the pram class we saw Track Scotland make it a 1-2 once again, with Kieran Smart ahead of teammate Stuart Winers, but Winers had to do it the hard way after his off-track returns 1, 2 and 3. But now we're here at race number 3, and we have got a top 17 reverse grid, and well, that means that Adam Delmont will now find himself catapulted to the front of the field. There he is on your screen. Can we get a quick word with him? That is the big question that we want to try and get the answer to, because we'd love to get a word with one of our drivers, one of our much loved drivers in the running order. And well, the answer to that question in terms of can we get a word with him, I believe is going to be a yes, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a brief moment and we are going to get a patch through to the car for Adam Delmont, and in fact we can do so now. Hello Adam, you got time for a quick chat?
Yeah, hello Paul.
Adam, you've been catapulted to the front of the field for race number 3 after 2 rather challenging races so far at Knockhill. How are you feeling for our final race of the day?
I'm feeling good, but should be able to hopefully just get away at the front. Obviously it's a really hard track for traffic. Not really many safe passing places really, and it's, you know, very easy to go wrong. So yeah, just hopefully get a nice getaway, mate, and then just cruise hopefully, but we'll see what happens. It's Knockhill, it can throw anything up.
Oh, 100%. I have to ask, how's the Honda felt over the curbs here? 'Cause we know the Honda normally doesn't like race curbs.
No, it's not very good over the curbs, as you've probably just witnessed there, as I just got it horribly wrong. Yeah, everywhere else it's pretty good, but yeah, chicane, it's a bit bouncy, shall we say.
Well, that's absolutely fair. We'll leave you to it and let you bounce the suspension to its heart's content. But good luck in race number 3, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
So speaking there to Adam Delmont, who, well, as we caught wind with that error that we did see, and if you're wondering why he's taking that off racing line and off into the gravel there, that is because all the drivers have been told when they leave the pit lane, if there are cars on the racing line, you are to take the gravel and rejoin the circuit at turn 3. If not, do it after the chicane. But Adam Delmont there giving us his quick thoughts, indeed having to give us some very quick thoughts, because we are already less than a minute away now from going racing one last time today here at the Knockhill Racing Circuit. I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't come up, I would argue the circuit perhaps doesn't come up enough in the NXTCC, because it's the second time we've raced here, and what a set of races we had so far. Yes, we did have a safety car in race number 2, but at the same time, when we did get back to racing, we had some absolutely phenomenal laps of race, no doubt about it, up and down the field, and I think it's definitely going to be one of the rounds that we're going to fondly remember over the course of this season for all the right reasons. But will it be a final race of the day to remember for all the right reasons for a number of drivers, including this man, Dylan Hunter, who after taking that win in race number 2 in the AM class, despite the chase of Daniel Fritz, could he make it 2 wins out of 3 here today? He'll start on pole in AM class, so anything's possible from that P27 slot, but he'll know that 22 laps separate him from the top step of the podium. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to head to that grid to see how all the drivers get on for this race day finale. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is how they'll line up for race 3 of 3 of round 6 of season 8 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing. Adam Delmont takes a top 17 reverse grid pole for SO NXTGEN Gold. He's joined on the front row of the grid by none other than Goldwyn Motorsports prime driver, that's Duncan Rise, who takes prime pole P2. Behind him is his teammate, Sam Van Alst. The Belgian driver is in the company of Gavin Garn, who starts P4 for NXTGEN Ping. Stuart Winus lines up P5 for Track Scotland, and an interesting twist of fate, could that off track at the start of race number 2 actually have made it highly possible he can chase after the victory here in the final race of the day for the Primes? We'll have to wait and see. He's joined on the third row of the grid by Jaroslaw Cebula, the next-gen pink driver who's really struggled throughout the course of today, and well, could this be the race that enables him to limit the damage that Mikey Doble will do? Well, time will tell, as will for Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing. We haven't seen this far up the running order for some time, but something has clicked today for the number 11 driver, and we hope to see even more of it over the course of this race. Or will it be Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport, the 504 driver, who's perhaps been shadowed a little bit by his teammate William Guthrie, but still, while standing in his teammate's shadow, perhaps now he'll come out into the light. On the fifth row of the grid to complete the top 10, it's Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, 2 Doble Sim Racing drivers inside the top 10, and then we have Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective. Best SP11 is Alex Meredith for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, with Kieran Smart for company, P12 for Track Scotland, and he'll be looking to try and make it 3 out of 3, or at least try and help Track Scotland to 3 1-2s out of 3 as a minimum. Behind him, trying to stop him, will be Wayne Douglas for Douglas Motorsport and Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing as they look to make progress, and they'll do battle once again. William Guthrie starts P15 for Full Tilt Motorsport, and keep your eyes out for him in the 36 as he will look to try and run away from Benjamin McCluskey as soon as possible, but the next gen pink driver may have something to say. And Dan Miles starts P17 for SO NXTGEN Gold, and well, given the fact to have all the weight in the car, but he has been a speed demon at Knockhill, how far into the top 10 can he penetrate, and can he get his way all the way into the top 5 if not higher? Ben Gregory starts P18 where he finished in race number 2, and an interesting statistic for the Full Tilt Motorsport driver, in the last 3 reverse grid draws including tonight, he's always been 1 or 2 places outside of the reverse grid position. It seems to be a statistic that haunts him, but will it be a result that haunts him here at Knockhill? From him, completing the top 20, it's Nick Clibbins for iRacing Esports and Lewis Delman for SO and NXTGEN Gold. Behind them, starting P21, Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Ping, and then we do have Aztec Racing's Matthew Sheraton. Sam Smith starts P23 for iRacing Esports, head of Lee Horn for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners Racing. And then we see on row number 13 the Aztec Racing driver Jake Pitt, who's really been in the wars today, and the Welshman will be wanting a much safer race for this final race of the day. And the same could be said for Michael Lees for JW Motorsport after that brilliant 2 wide through the chicane in race number 2. It didn't pay off for him, but it definitely was a spectacle. Dylan Hunter starts P27 on Ampole for DH Racing, and knowing now all we've got to do is get a good start and run away. Alongside him will be Sam Bradley, who won't be as concerned. He won't be as danger man for SO NXTGEN Gold, but the danger man in the AM class will be Daniel Fritz for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners. He started from the back of the AM class in race 1 and made it to P4 in class. In race 2, he just missed out on the win, finishing P2. Can he take the win in the final race of the day? Meanwhile, alongside him to complete the top 30, it's Russell Fowler for Verano Esports, who will be looking for redemption after a difficult end to his race 2. Craig Tillotson starts P31 for Verano Academy, looking to make it 3 third places out of 3 in the AM class, if not more, and Alan McCain will join him on the 16th row of the grid for iRacing Esports. Gabriel Yilmaz and Lewis Mason, the Aztec Racing teammates, line up on the 17th row, head of Verano Academy's Kevin Smith, who starts P35. And Andrew Pike starts in his lowest starting position for some time, P36, and knowing he's got all the work to do for the Sim Racing Collective. Meanwhile, P37 is Sean Doe for 88 Tech Racing, ahead of Marcel Fritsch for Verano Academy, and completing the top 40 is Callum Murray for SO NXTGEN Gold and William Kurtler for Aztec Racing. P41, it's Luca Monroe for United Sim Team, ahead of Andy Fox for Goldwyn Motorsport. And can Fox have a lap 1 without incident this time? Well, he won't want the bad luck streak to continue. On meanwhile, the 22nd row of the grid, it's Jonathan Collins for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners Racing and Quartermaster Motorsport Sammy Ariba, with James Smassersgal line up P45 for Aztec Racing, ahead of Daniel Downing for Goldwyn Motorsport. And then we do have Mark Sykes for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners P47, ahead of Reese Fox for JWM Motorsport. And then last but not least, started P49, National Racing Team's Josh Brown, who after a huge dent in races 1 and 2, will this be an even bigger shunt in his championship charge in the final race of today. Well, the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen, and there you can see it's Adam Delman who starts at the very front. It's been some time since we've seen him on the front row of the grid, but will he get the launch that he covets and desires? Well, the lights are going on, and without further ado, it is going to be for the final time today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and out they go, and away we go as Adam Delman looks to get a good start, but Duncan Race gets the best better launch off the line slightly as they make the way up towards Duffers, but it's enough for Adam Delman to hold on to lead for the opening couple of corners. But on they charge, and as they do, the distant camera view there starts to show all the packs serpentine its way through. Wayne Douglas there side by side. We've got a couple of cars off, and as they do, the field starts to part ways, and off the circuit they all go. Now in all of that, Daniel Fritz has made his way through. Dylan Hunter has fallen a bit further back, but the field now gradually rejoins. I think those who got caught up in the altercation, they've not collected anybody else. We will get a replay of what happened there shortly, but definitely a nasty moment to start off the racing today, and we'll try and get back to what exactly happened in Jordan. I think McCluskey, Mould and Gregory were all caught up in that, but meanwhile your race leader Adam Delman leads the field down in towards Taylor's corner, and after one lap he's still leading, it would seem, as they race their way up towards the timing line. But you can see there the prime drivers of Duncan Ryan and Sam Knowles are not going to let him go. The Goldwyn Motorsport drivers trying to work together, but across the timeline they go, and it's Adam Delman who leads ahead of prime leader Duncan Ryan's P2, Sam Knowles P3, Gavin Garner P4, Stuart Wine is P5. Then we do have Jaroslaw Cebula P6 header, Joe Doble followed by Ben Altrier P8. Then Isaac Doble P9, Tom Dawson completes your top 10, Bester SP11 is Alex Meredith. Oh my good lord! And that is Gavin Garner taking a long trip off the road at McIntyre's and into the barrier. That left-hand side suspension will definitely have felt a major impact. You can see, in fact, look at the car. The car can't point straight too well there. The front left tyre has dropped. That's the suspension that's collapsed. Gavin Garner's race may be off into the pits for that fast repair. There's more carnage further back, and Alan McCain there in a bit of a hustle and bustle with Daniel Fritz and Russell Fowler, the Irish esports driver, very eager to make headway as Daniel Fritz is your AM leader. And a Craig Tillison and William Kurtler. Dylan Hunter's down to P4 in the AM class, but there's much more to the story there than just that they've changed places, and we will get you an update on that shortly as we come to the end of lap number 2. And Alex Meredith right now battling side by side with Davison here as they head onwards towards the opening corner. Down towards the braking zone they go, and as they do, Meredith gets ahead for now. Cars coming out the pit lane. I can see there also in amongst all that is Callum Murray, so he got caught up in the overlap incident. Lewis Mason, Ben Gregory, so a few Marcel Fritsch once again, Josh Brown once again as well. It's been a nightmare for many. Car off the road there, rejoining it. That is why the Aztec Racing cars that's lap down. That is, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, Gabriel Yilmaz. So therefore it's gone very wrong for a lot of AM drivers right at the start, as we can see there. Wayne Douglas looking at the inside of Tom Davidson, albeit a bit of elbows out there, and Douglas gets the place, but Davidson won't be too happy about the fact he's been put into the sand in order for the place change to occur. But coming down towards the braking zone for Taylor, well, you can see here looking around the outside as William Guthrie, as Douglas here on a go defensive as possible in the battle of the two velocities. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble trying to push Douglas along here in order to try and extend the flight as the headlights go on. It's getting a little bit dark out as we are heading towards the evening of the day, and as they make their way across that timeline side by side, well, now it's going to be Guthrie's opportunity to force the move around the outside of Duffers Deer, but Douglas there takes a lot of speed and Guthrie backs out just in time. Duncan Ryan, meanwhile, oh my goodness, he was up into P2 at one point. The Goldwyn Motorsport driver has hit the wall, and well, what exactly's happened, I'm not quite sure, but he is rejoining now. But that is a Honda Civic that has definitely been absolutely bruised and potentially broken in some places. But as Davidson comes to the pressure here from Dan Mould, Mould has started P17 up to P14, and well, I think that's more by attrition, and now trying to gain some more places here. We can see behind him his teammate Lewis Delmont, the younger member of the Delmont family on this grid, and we'll Mould and Delmont right now battling side by side, and it's going to be Lewis looking around the outside, Mould defending to the inside here, and I think they've been told as long as they don't take each other off the road, they can enjoy a little bit of fighting as they make their way on to another lap. But let's take a look back at that race start, particularly focused on Benjamin McCluskey. So this was coming down towards turn 1 already. 4 wide there. There was a contact further back. And while McCluskey on the outside, you could see that Ben Gregory being turned around. So 3 does not go into Duffers Dip, it would seem. And Gregory right in amongst all of it. We take a look back from the onboard of Gregory. And where he came in hard onto the inside, contact from the right-hand side. And in the end, Gregory propelled to the path for Benjamin McCluskey, sent him round. But what happened further back is the question. We're going to take a look at Lewis Mason here in 3 wide. And I believe that was a Rano Academy car that came across, and unless I'm mistaken, that may have been the car, I think that might have been Kevin Smith's car that made the contact there with Lewis Mason and triggered off the chain reaction that sent a number of drivers, including Callum Murray, out of this race effectively. Further back, you can see there goes Mason, the contact with Smith. Murray, in the end, I think, tries to take evasive action, might have been tapped on the rear by a driver, and it all went right. I think Luca Monroe might have been in amongst all that, but those are the incidents. And then what on earth has just happened to Duncan Morais is the question as we return to your live racing pictures. Well, we are going to get a replay of that very shortly because he was running in P2, but something tells me he may have pushed things a bit too far, and well, here's the replay to explain, ladies and gentlemen. this was going on to lap number 4 into Duffer's Dip. And as he made his way through, a lot of speed. You see the rear's already letting go as he goes down the elevation change. And in the end, he's just sliding down the hill and into the tyre barrier. Well, the tyre barrier found him, and well, it saved him, but at the same time, it's definitely not saved the car. But as we come back to the racing, and well, we do say hello there in the Twitch chat to none other than what is 4ZYY, or I think that's Azzy, as it may be pronounced in the internet language. Well, you see they're asking, this is a league race, how can I join? Well, to join, you need to make your way into the sign-ups, and those are available on the Next Gen Racing official Discord. More information about that coming up later today on the broadcast, albeit we do have a full grid, but we also do have a reserve list, and that's how you can get your way onto the grid, as we do have drivers every so often have to drop out due to personal reasons or due to scheduling conflicts, and therefore we do open up the grid to reserves when those spots become available. Also, you can go to our official website at nextgenracing.co.uk and find out all the information there about how you can join at the official Next Gen Racing Discord. But as our drivers make the way on through, Adam Delman's still leading at the moment, but further back you can see here Ben Ultria trying to find his way past Isaac Doble, not quite able to at this time. And well, as we can see, a switch back there from Ultria is quite an effective one, and it does enable him to get ahead of Doble for now. But in the drag race all the way up the start, finish the line straight onwards towards turn 1. You can see that Audi just able to enact revenge with regards to straight line speed. 2 wide they're going to Duffers, and well, they are going to make it through together. This is brilliant racing between them, but Ultrinian has to back out. You see Alex Meredith thinking about trying to get himself in as there's contact from Wayne Douglas to Meredith, and Meredith is pushed to the gravel there, and well, the elbow's definitely coming out right now. I don't think Meredith's going to be too happy about that, and I do wonder whether there might be a word from the stewards to Douglas later on today after the race is done. But here comes Dan Mould looking up the inside of William Guthrie, takes the place off of Guthrie for now, or does he? As we do look back to the exterior pictures, and well, there you can see Mould making his way up the inside. He's still there as he tries to make the move count now into Taylor's, but Guthrie's going to simply look for the cutback, but Mould puts it on the apex, parks it. He knows the deal here as they come out of the corner, and onwards they'll go towards turn number 1. And as they make the way on the start for the straight, well, it's now the number 62 driver who's absolutely on a mission. He's up into P12. Can he get into the top 10? How much further can he go? As meanwhile, Guthrie says, no, you don't, and they glide their way into Duffers, and as they come in towards McIntyre, still 2 wide all the way through. Brilliant racing between these two, and Dan Mould right now, where he is given a slight elbow, but to be fair, it's respectful racing between the two, and Tom Davidson watches this. I think right now he's thinking, how can I get involved in this? And well, they won't want him to, but looking from them, Mikey Doble looking to try and make his way up into P8 now, battling Bultria, and on the inside there through Clark Corner. Lee Horn, meanwhile, in all this, has found his way into P10, and given how his fortunes are played out today, I think Horn's going to be absolutely ecstatic to be right up in the top 10 fight right now. Given it's been a frustrating races 1 and 2, but Doble and Ultria, that's Mikey Doble and Ben Ultria, fighting side by side on the exit, so Isaac Doble was able to shake off Ultria, so it now goes from the younger member of what is the Doble family to the oldest member of the Doble family on this grid, and Mikey looking to try and hold that inside, but I think Ultria says, well, we can go 2 wide for it. I've done it with your brother, and now I can do it again as they come down in towards turn number 3. Still 2 wide all the way they go, bouncing onto 2 wheels. There's Mikey Doble, and they come into Butchers. Surely they're not going to go 2 wide into the chicane. No, Mikey backs out there. I was going to say, so it's either going to go very well, very wrong, very quickly, but Ben Ultria absolutely sticking to his guts, and who can blame him? That is brilliant driving from Ben Ultria, as Lee Horn meanwhile is watching on right now, but here comes Doble again, looking from one side to the other. Ultria goes to the defensive line through Railway Curve, and as they head up towards Taylor's, it's a slowdown for Ben Ultria. That's why he's having to back off, and it means that Doble does take the place ahead of it's Lee Horn who comes on for an Alex Meredith, made to go on the, oh goodness me, and it's all dips and dabs there as they make them out of the corner. I think Ben Ultria doesn't know where to go. He makes contact with Meredith, makes contact with Guthrie, and Meredith now falls backwards as Dan Mould sipes his way through all the chaos around him, albeit can't gain too much, but moves back into P12. Meanwhile, at the very front of the field, this is Adam Delman now starting to pick his way past cars that are a lap down. The SO NXTGEN Gold driver still got Sam Van Olst absolutely glued to his backside as they make the way towards the halfway point of this race, and as they head onwards towards turn number 9 this time around, well, you can see they're flashing the lights from Van Olst. I think that's as much for Clemens as it is to distract Delmont, but Delmont right now not letting it get to him, and well, he makes his way out the corner. The SO NXTGEN Gold driver doing everything in his power to try and get that Honda to the checker flag as the number 1 car in the running order. Meanwhile, whilst all this is going on, let's come back to the Pro-Am class on the lead lap. This is the battle effectively for P16 overall, but for Pro-Am, it's the battle of P17 through to P20, and it's a P4 in the Pram class. As you can see, Lewis Delmont side by side here with Michael Lees. They're at the head of it, but behind him is Alan McCain and Sam Smith. 2 by 2 they go. The Irish Esports drivers don't want to take each other out of this race. Michael Lees goes all in. That's all guns blazing, but that is going to be an off track there as he takes the runoff there, and that will be a black flag for a slowdown he'll need to serve, but he will only be able to serve it once he gets out of what we turn 7. But they go 2 wide with Butchers. In the end, Lees gets himself back into the lead of this, but for how long, given the fact it's all starting to queue up behind. And Matthew Sheraton now says, well, don't mind if I do it. He tries to take the place off of McCain, who ran wide coming through the chicane. And Sheraton takes P7 in the prime class, P20 overall. And well, I would imagine that Michael Lees will shortly serve that slowdown if it has been accoladed to him. If not, well, he's been very fortunate too as they make the way up through turn at number 9. But as they come over the crest, well, right now Michael Lees still holding on to his pack. I don't think he's picked up a slowdown. I think, in fact, the fact he went off and had quite a slow moment through the chicane, that might have already bled the slowdown off. It's forced Lewis Delmont backwards. So the JWM Motorsport driver holding on by the skin of his teeth right now, and well, doing very well in doing so. Looking from them, just a little bit further down, Daniel Fritz, your leader in the AM class, he's P24. He's got a comfortable 6.5 second gap to William Kurtler, who is your second place AM driver. The Aztec Racing driver in the 132. He's got Jamie Dory and Reese Watt behind, but then the third place AM driver is Jonathan Collins. So the NXTGEN Orange and Whiskey Runners driver right now in the chase, and as they make the way on through, well, right now Collins will be feeling as though there's no real growing pressure behind him, but definitely it is a very, very topsy-turvy AM class. We have seen some very different results in races 1 and 2, and we're going to see a very different result in race number 3 with none of the big names minus Collins in that podium contention right now. But as our driver makes his way up towards turn at number 9 and behind, you can see Downing and Sykes getting very comfortable with each other. Well, from them, we do look back up to the very front of the field, and this is Adam Delmont, who is still being absolutely pushed to the limit as they make the way on out of what is there, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, the hairpin. In fact, I am mistaken. That was turn 7 heading down towards the hairpin. I think we have had an instant for a driver off the road, and Wayne Douglas has been involved in some sort of altercation. We will try and get a replay of what's happened very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, because I think a number of drivers have been involved in some contact. But other drivers make their way across the timeline. On to lap 15 they go, and Adam Delmont still leading ahead of Sam Knowles to Jaroslaw Cebula, and Cebula in all of this is up into P3 for NXTGEN Pink. Was a turnaround after races 1 and 2, where it's just not come together for the number 80 driver. Well, this could be the race that salvages something out of the evening. But meanwhile, we need to take a look back at what happened to Wayne Douglas, and here's the replay. This was contact firstly with Sean Doby, who was a lap down 3 wide. Sure, oh goodness, and then a bit of contact. I think that might have been just neck contact between Doby and Douglas. And well, in the end, it all ended up wrong, and Douglas trying to turn it around, but all the field making their way into the chicane, and well, not the way that Wayne Douglas has wanted it to end. And well, a frustrating moment there for the drivers, but the car has had to be towed to the pits, as I'm being informed in my ear, due to the damage picked up from that contact between himself, Sean Doby, and then the subsequent tyre barrier. Coming back to our live racing pictures, and as our drivers push their way deeper into the second half of this final race of the day at Knockhill and round 6 of the championship, well, the top 3 absolutely pushing each other to the limit as we jump on board with Jaroslaw Cebula, who knows that everything is on the line right now in terms of keeping himself in the lead of the championship going into round 7 in a week's time in Montreal in Canada. And well, Cebula glued to the back of Van Knowles, and Van Knowles starting to slip a little bit away from what is Delmont, who's now got a 0.6 of a second gap. It's not much, but it'll be a bit more. But Cebula runs wide there, following in Van Knowles. And these two, the two what is drivers chasing down Delmont. Well, Cebula just wants to get into P2, and then we'll worry about everything else. So there he's going to look around the outside. This is going to be an all or nothing move here, and well, in the end, it will amount to nothing. He's given just enough room to go racing, but Knowles in the end can just get his head down with that Audi RS3's torque coming out the corner uphill. That's where the Audi is so strong here at Knockhill. Is on the run onto the start finish straight. That's its only real main saving grace, and the Honda meanwhile's got it all in the corners, but it hasn't got the power out of them. And it's an interesting contrast between the two machines that's really keeping this fight as close as possible. Stuart Wyness, meanwhile, 1.5 seconds behind all this. He's got the traffic at Clemens and Yilmaz between himself and the top 3, but I think the Track Scotland driver would very happily take what would be a P2 with open arms in the prime class, albeit the team would love to make it 1-2s in all 3 races, but sometimes you have to cut your losses, and a 2-3 for Wyness and then Smart, who's down in P13, would be nothing for them to scoff at, as we say hello to Kerr Worry, who says you can't park there, so in relation to Wayne Douglas being parked almost at the apex of the chicane secondary curb. But as Stuart Wyness negotiates the traffic there, everyone's showing great awareness, whether it be Yilmaz or Murray. Well, meanwhile, Meanwhile, we look back to Kieran Smart as he enjoys a little bit of a battle here in the Battle of the Elantras between himself and Alex Meredith for P12. Smart looking around the outside here as he does end up finding Craig Tillotson, who takes the wide line at the hairpin to respect the blue flag. So Smart has to back out there through fear of tapping the rear of the AMP Runner Academy car, and on to the start of the straight they go. You can see also there Tom Davidson and Benjamin McCluskey making the way on through, as it looks like Tillotson just respecting the blue flag and backing out of it as much as possible as he can without becoming a rolling roadblock. But the drivers make the way down through 1, 2 and 3. Meanwhile, a bit further down the order, Andrew Pike trying to pick his way past Dylan Hunter, and what an absolutely abysmal day it's been today for the Sim Racing Collective driver as he looks up the inside to take P30, but no, this is not where he wants to be over the course of the racing, and this will be a huge blow in his conquest to try and finish inside the top 3 of the overall championship for this season. Meanwhile, looking back up the road in the fight for P6, that's a swap of position between the Doble Sim Racing drivers of Mikey Doble and Isaac Doble, with Mikey taking the place there. Might be a swap, might be a slowdown insert by Isaac, but either way, Mikey Doble now moves up to P6, and I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps that is with consideration of the championship, given that Mikey has had a very strong day so far today compared to his rival Jaroslaw Cebula. And therefore for Mikey, it'll be a prime opportunity if he can take some extra points here to make Cebula's gains in race number 3 marginal. Then it would be Doble who will really take a lot of points into the next round, as we got a car into the barrier there. That is William Kurtler, who's had a huge shunt, and Kurtler at the time was running. Well, in fact, that's not William Kurtler, that is a different car altogether. That's why the Aztec Racing cars. But what's happened to William Kurtler is we see a car coming into the pits. That the car behind, I believe, was none other than what was Lewis Mason. But William Kurtler's had a huge moment, I believe, at the hairpin. And well, Kieran Smart's off. There's, well, goodness me, it's all starting to kick off here. We've got multiple cars off. That's on the run out of turn 7. And what's happened here, because Kieran Smart was running in P3 in the Prime Class P13, battling with Alex Meredith into turn 7, goes late on the brakes, carries all the speed, and then contacts, he drops off the curb into Alex Meredith, into the barrier. The car rolls, he's got his brakes on, but in the end, he can't go anywhere, and it's the RS Esports car that comes barreling into the side, and the Track Scotland driver's absolute dreamlike day is brought to a crashing halt and turned into a nightmare, as that was the car of Sam Smith that he ended up impacted with. And as we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we can't quite know what's happened with regards to that Aztec Racing car that we did see at the chicane, and we won't have the opportunity to cut back to that in terms of replay footage. But Track Scotland, what has almost been an absolutely perfect day of racing, has just slightly hit a major bump in race number 3, but still they'll take the positives where they can from today, and there's plenty of positives to talk about, but just a bit of frustration for Kieran Smart as they make the way towards the end of this race. But Delmont now onto where's the penultimate lap, with Austin Cebula right behind it. Stuart Wyness still chasing after the Prime win in this race, but I think he may have to settle for a P2. But in the Prime Championship, with the results going as they are, he will be, as far as my mathematics is correct, he will be the Prime Championship leader going into round 7 in a week's time. And the Track Scotland driver, I think, will be very pleased to see things turning up in the right direction. But whilst all this is playing out, we've still got more fighting going on. There's Lewis Delmont battling with Matthew Sheraton. They're fighting over P6 in the Prime class, as these two seem to exchange blows every lap as they roll their way through the chicane this time. And you can see Russell Fowler just in front of Sheraton now, looking to try and pick his way through here on the inside of Fowler in towards turn 7. Round they go, and in the end they give each other just enough breathing room. They're too wide as the final lap begins off camera. Our race leader makes one to the final lap, but Sheraton's still trying to out-drag Fowler down towards Taylor's corner. Onto the brakes they go then for the turn 9 hairpin. Lewis Delmont decides to back out of it and goes to the slipstream approach out the corner, get the best possible traction in case these two take some speed off the apex, but they don't, and Sheraton does just start to inch his nose ahead as they barrel their way up towards turn 1. But that Audi from Fowler just comes back so strongly as they roll their way down into Duffer's Dip, and well, as they do, Sheraton does get ahead. There's contact between the two of them, and Fowler goes on, but we have to cut away, ladies and gentlemen, because here is your leader as he makes his way into the final corner, and the NXTGEN Gold driver, after a frustrating race 1, an absolutely dismal race 2, well, race number 3 is what it's meant to be, because Adam Delmont takes victory here at Knockhill in the final race of the day ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, and then it will be Sam Bernals who takes the Prime win P3 overall ahead of Stuart Wyness P4 run up in the Prime class, and there'll be Mikey Doble P5 as he leads home what will be the trio of Mikey ahead of Joe, followed by Isaac P5 through to P7, and a brilliant result there for Doble Sim Racing. Lee Horn finishes P8 ahead of Ben Altry and William Guthrie to complete the top 10. Dan Mole P11, but what about Daniel Fritz? Well, here he is. It's a swap of positions here. Jonathan Collins is up the inside, and I suspect this may be with the championship in the mind for Collins, given he's a distant touch of the championship table. And we can see here the 1-2-3 of Jonathan Collins will take the AM victory, P23 overall, at a teammate Daniel Fritz, and then it will be third place in the AM class for none other than William Kurtler, who returns to the podium after a significant hiatus running for Aztec Racing, and as he crosses the line. But as he does so, we've still got more drives to come through. Dylan Hunter finishes P4 in the AM class. Wasn't to be back-to-back victories, but still a great day for the 26 driver. 3 top 5 finishes and 2 podiums, including a win in the AM class. His best results of the season. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, as our drivers make their way into the pit lane, most of them already halfway round. It has been an incredible race, no doubt about it, and Matthew Sheraton in the end, as classified, finished behind Russell Fowler. So I think out there altercation coming through Duffer's Dip, where it was Fowler who was able to hold on, but I think there might be some words between the two of them as they threw everything at that battle, including the kitchen sink on the final couple of laps. But Collins makes his way on around the Whiskey Runners for Next Gen Orange Driver 9. That today, races 1 and 2, well, they're just races you have to put away, and race number 3 will definitely a much better result. And a victory will definitely keep him alive in his championship chase, but he'll know there is a long way to go as he chases the top of the table. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the results are now in, and let's take a look through them. All these, of course, being provisional, subject to any steward's inquiries, as we say hello to Phil McDougall in the YouTube chat. And as we can see here for our final race of the day in round 6 of Season 8 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles, Adam Delmont, your winner for SRO Next Gen Gold, started on pole and held on to pole all the way through to that checker flag to take the win by 1.1 seconds over Jaroslaw Cebula. Credit where it's due to Next Gen Pink driver, fight his way through in the end after a difficult race 1 and 2 and managing to salvage a podium result, and that could prove pivotal later on in the championship. Sam Van Olst finishing P3 there, the top of the prime drivers, your prime winner for Goldwyn Motorsport. And unfortunate not to be coming home on that podium with his teammate Duncan Rise, who ended up in the wall in the opening few laps, but Van Olst still will take that class victory. Stuart Wynis once again makes it another P2 in the Prime class, and with it 3 P2s in our rowing class today with a P4 overall for Track Scotland. He did it the easy way in race 1, the hard way in race 2, and the somewhere in between way in race number 3, but that is definitely going to put him to the top of the Prime standings after all the points are accrued. Mikey Doble finished P5 there, leading home a P5 through to P7 of himself, brother Joe, and also Isaac for Doble Sim Racing, and then Lee Horn at P8 there for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners, finding his way all the way into P8 after a frustrating race 1 and a backwards race number 2. Ben Altry at P9 there for Full Tilt Motorsport ahead of teammate William Guthrie, and then Dan Mole P11 for SO Next Gen Gold. Starting P17, a P11 finish seemed to be the best he could get out of the car given the weight in the car, but still some huge points today for the SO Next Gen Gold driver, and he'll be grinning as he comes away from the circuit. Tom Davidson, P12 for the Sim Racing Collective, in a bit of an absent day today for TSRC as a whole, but Davidson picking up the lion's share of the points for the team, with Michael Lees P13 and completing the Pro-Am podium there for JW Motorsport. And after his faults going into today really damage limitation, I think taking a Pro-Am podium when it's all said and done, that will mean that he's going to come away here quite happy with a trophy. Benjamin McCluskey, P14 for Next Gen Pink, and then Sam Smith round off the top 15 with 4th place in the Pro-Am class there for iRacing Esports. Russell Fowler, P16, completing the Prime top 5 for Rhino Esports, fend off Matthew Sheraton to the very end, and then the top 20 being completed by Lewis Delmont, Alex Meredith and Reese Watt, with that late contact for Alex Meredith really bringing his race to a halt after making contact with Kieran Smart at turn number 7, but still a P19 there, and the Next Gen Orange Risky Runners driver will know that's not the way he wanted it to go. Jamie Dory finished P21 just behind Watt ahead of Daniel Downing. And then we saw your AM winner Jonathan Collins for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners after the late swap between himself and Daniel Fritz. As Average Joe there, who I do believe might be Daniel Fritz in the YouTube chat, gives a winky face saying no team orders at all. But the swap there, well, Jonathan Collins' championship charge in mind, but a 1-2 for the team, and they'll be very pleased with that, particularly with Daniel Fritz starting from the back of the field today and charging his way through in all 3 races. Sam Bradley, P25 P5 ahead of Andrew Pike, with William Kurtler completing the AM podium there for Aztec Racing, the one of a limited number of podiums for the 132 driver, so the team will be absolutely proud of him. Dylan Hunter for DH Racing, not quite the fairy tale day of 3 podiums in a row at Knockhill, but still, what was a second place in race 1, a win in race 2, and a 4th place in race number 3. Surely it's got to be a great day for the number 26 driver. To complete the top 30, it was none other than James Mazzersgout and Nick Clemmins, both a lap down. And the lap down thing continues for a P5 in the AM class of Sammy Ariba, the Quartmaster Motorsport driver, getting a good result at the finish, head of Aztec Race's Jake Pitt, with Andy Fox, Craig Tillerson, Kevin Smith, Sean Doby, Ben Gregory, Kieran Smart, and then was Marcel Fritsch and Alan McCain completing your top 40, the last 2 drivers there being 2 laps down. It was also 2 laps down for Callum Murray, completing his debut in a difficult day today, but more to come in a week's time, I'm sure. 4 laps down to Wayne Douglas, ahead of Lewis Mason and Gabriel Yilmaz. 6 laps down to Mark Sykes, and unfortunate classified retirements for Duncan Rise, Gavin Gardner, and last but not least, Luca Monroe, in what has definitely been a challenging race day for many drivers, particularly some big names down there in the AM class, Josh Brown, and also Luca Monroe after that brilliant debut at the Nürburgring. That concludes all of our racing at Knockhill, ladies and gentlemen, but it doesn't quite conclude our show for today, because of course we still need to get around to our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers, and we will be back for those in approximately what will be 10 to 12 minutes time. In the meantime, do let us know what have been your favourite moments of the day, but stay tuned because we will be back for our post-round interviews very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today we're going to be hearing from a driver in each of our classes, but we're going to be starting with the lowest of our classes in terms of what would be perhaps the driver rating, but perhaps one of our stars of today in the form of our AM class driver from DH Racing, Dylan Hunter, after which we'll then be coming to home hero and the man who made it 2 wins out of 3 in the Prime class of Track Scotland, Kieran Smart, and then we'll be coming to our Pro class driver, Mikey Doble, who has picked up a round today that could be absolutely pivotal in his championship charge for a 4th title. But first, let's start off with DH Racing's Dylan Hunter, and as he joins me now in the interview room, good evening or good afternoon, shall I say to you, Dylan, and what a day of racing for yourself today at Knockhill. You looked fast in practice, but in the end, it paid off in the races with what was a double podium, including a win in race 2 and also a top 5 finish in race number 3.
Yeah, it was. For one, I wasn't expecting to get a podium, let alone take a win in the AM class today.
Well, you sound as surprised as perhaps many of your rivals would be, but to be fair, you deserved it given the pace you were showing. Now, we'll talk a bit more about race 3 towards the end, but let's start off with qualifying and how that played out for you. Early on in qualifying, you were looking very fast in the early stages, setting provisional pole. Towards the end, looked as though it wasn't quite going your way, but still a P2 in class. How did qualifying feel for you?
I felt a bit off the pace in qualifying, to be honest. But knowing this is going to be a small, short track, everyone's going to be bunched up. I kind of had a feeling that qualifying really wasn't going to matter almost for the start.
I see. So really focusing more on the races rather than qualifying itself. And how did you find the velocity around this circuit? Because we've heard a lot about the Audi not really liking the curves, but we've seen it very strong on the straights. We've heard that the Honda struggles on the curves as well, but very powerful on the brakes. But it looks like the Veloster seemed just a very nice car to drive here.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say for any other of the cars. I have not raced them on this circuit or at all. But coming from an off-road background, the curbs really didn't feel that bad for me.
Well, that's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. And one thing that didn't feel bad for you as well was race number 1. We saw in the early stages you have a brilliant start and you were chasing Marcel Fritsch down all the way over the race distance. It looked as though you were going to have him towards the end, but a little bit of interference from some pros and primes around you just stopped you short.
Yeah, I mean, I had to run my own race. I was chasing him down as fast as I could and hoping that, the short track was going to just basically a short Nürburgring. How I looked at it as we're racing against the track, and these off tracks and slowdowns were definitely taking some people, and the traffic definitely does help. When the pros come up to you and they're a lot faster, it's a little bit harder to run up against them.
Oh, very true. And I've never heard somebody refer to Knockhill as the small Nürburgring, but I love that analogy, and I think it's going to stick with me for some time. So thank you for that, because falling just short in race number 1, going into race number 2, it looked over there, it was almost as if you had said to the field beforehand, look, this is my race to win, nobody else is going to have it, and you were flying in race 2.
Yeah, I think I got lucky with the start, good start on that, and let everyone else bunch up behind me, and I think halfway through I realized I was leading the AM drivers, and had to refocus back onto the actual race instead of make mistakes and get too excited.
Surely towards the end of the race, to take your first AM win of the season, you must have been thinking, come on, where's that checker flag? It's only got to be a lap away now.
Yeah, it was definitely looking. It wasn't really necessarily looking at the laps. Looking at the time, looking at the laps, seeing where the next AM driver is. Once the pro drivers got in between the AM driver and I definitely was a little bit more relaxed.
Well, so I can imagine with Daniel Fritz, who'd started from the very back of the field in race 1 and started P4 in class in race number 2, you must be looking in your mirror as he was getting closer and thinking, surely, Daniel, you're not going to be able to get this close towards the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was seeing about, I think, when I was looking and paying attention, it was about a second back, second and a half. That was starting to worry me. I do know I don't have the greatest pace, but consistency is key, I would say, in racing.
Oh, 100%. You definitely showed that in race number 2, carrying on and moving forward from race number 1, and well done on that first win of your AM season. But then coming into race number 3, unfortunately, despite a great start from yourself, an instant through the opening chicane, which saw many drivers affected, not just yourself across the AM class, but it was a little bit of a bump in the road, and from there you had to recover.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. Looking at it, it just racing incident. I thought he was a little over more than I thought, and coming up into that, we collided, and then 2 laps later, I got stuck behind a spun pro car, and really couldn't go anywhere besides that. And then it was just damage control after that, running with the bent, out of whack tire, I should say. It wasn't really super bad, but
still not the ideal condition to wrap up your day with regards to the car, but still surviving to take a P4 in class. I mean, all things considered, it's been your strongest round so far in terms of points accrued. You must be quite happy with this.
I am. I already cracked a beer.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Well, definitely a beer well earned and deserved. And well, things have gone very well for you at Knockhill today. We've still got 4 more rounds to go in the championship, including next week at Montreal. How are you feeling for a trip to Canada?
I mean, it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from my home state here in Wisconsin. So hopefully I can do well.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And well, just before we do leave you, Dylan, as always, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, my wife for definitely supporting me with this crazy hobby. My parents for getting me into racing, and my one sponsor, Ride Rotation, for all mountain bike stuff.
Well, Dylan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. Enjoy that beer. I won't keep you from it for any longer. Congratulations once again on your best results of the season, including your maiden AM win. And we look forward to seeing what you can do in Canada in a week's time.
All right, thank you.
So hearing there from a very happy Dylan Hunter, and well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, he is going to be absolutely ecstatic. Well, the fact he's already cracked open the beer, that says the story. And coming into today, and he mentioned there about the fact that he didn't feel as though Knockhill was one of those circuits that was necessarily going to perhaps be his ultimate circuit, but it seems as though along the way, he's definitely found a circuit today where he gels very well with the Hyundai Veloster, at least, if not the touring car racing machine in general. Qualifying wasn't his focus, and as he mentioned there, his focus was more on the race and in a short circuit, and a circuit where a lot of cars, places could be made up, and that's exactly how he went about it, going from what was qualifying into race number 1. A P2, just off the back of Marcel Fritsch, but in race number 2, that's where he struck and charged to victory, even with Daniel Fritz fast behind. Race number 3 was a little bit more of a bump, as we mentioned earlier, when he mentioned the fact that in the open lap instant, not being able to go the right way, made the decision it wasn't the right one, and then also, as we've seen in the replay footage, some later contacts with other drivers, including a spun pro driver, really blunting his progress. But to survive with a damaged wheel and bring it on home into P4, well, those are some good points there, and you never know, we could see Dylan Hunter make his way into the top 10 of the AM class in the championship in due course, and if he does so, how high can he go? Having joined late in the season, but could he perhaps be nipping on the heels of the top 5 before the season is said and done? We're now coming on to our second interview of today. You've heard from an AM class driver. We now make our way into the Pro AM class, and perhaps the man who many of you will be wanting to hear from. It's none other than Kieran Smart, who gets ready to join me in the interview room, and we get to hear his thoughts on the home hero here in Scotland and what he's been able to achieve in what has been his home circuit. But as he joins me now in the interview room, good evening to you, Kieran. And well, firstly, I've got to say, what a way to race at your home circuit at Knockhill by bringing home 2 out of 3 wins in the Pro Am class. I mean, it wasn't quite perfect, but let's put race 3 aside for a moment. You must be absolutely ecstatic with those results in races 1 and 2, and qualified, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I think we went from the longest circuit on the system to the shortest circuit. So yeah, I didn't know Nürburgring very well last week, so it was quite nice to come somewhere a bit more familiar. And yeah, I was quite quietly confident we could have a decent showing here, having done quite a lot of laps on this track.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we've just heard Dylan Hunter refer to Knockhill, in his opinion, as the small Nürburgring, which is an analogy which I'm going to be sticking with for a bit, and some may agree, some may not. But coming specifically to yourself, I mean, Knockhill seemed to be a circuit that gelled very well with you from the outset. I mean, going into qualifying, in practice, we saw some phenomenal times. Were you already thinking, you know, this is going to be my night?
Yeah, I think I was quite fortunate. I didn't have any success ballasts, so the guys I was probably around about, I imagine, had championship success ballasts, so it probably helped sort of flatter my performance a little bit. But yeah, I think this track really rewards just having time on it, all the bumps and just like through the chicane and stuff. If you can just nail the line, you can carry so much momentum and speed.
I see. And also, adding to that, we've heard different perspectives about the car today, but how did the Elantra feel around here? I mean, we normally associate the Elantra as being the one-lap car, but perhaps struggles a little bit later on in the race with its tyres. But how did it feel to you?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I mean, again, I think maybe no kill. Like you can really use the brake bias to help the car retake, 'cause it's such a sort of tight circuit compared to some of the other ones. So it maybe makes less of a difference in the cars, but maybe you can sort of make up a little bit more in the different performances.
Well, I see, and I appreciate the insight there. And then carrying that into qualifying, we saw from the outset in qualifying that you were looking to be inside the top 10 by default, but in the end to line up P2, almost achieving what only a very limited number of prams have done, which is to take an overall pole position in qualifying. I mean, Dan Mould seemed to be at a bit of a class of his own, but when you look back to be started on the front row, I mean, I would get the feeling your jaw might have dropped when you saw the results.
Totally, and to be racing wheel to wheel with Mikey Doble was pretty fun. He knows where to position a car to make it hard to get by. So, but that was super clean racing, great fun.
Oh, 100%. And all that clean racing we did see in race one. And whilst you weren't able to hold on to an overall podium, in the end, bringing home a prime class win after all that batting with Mikey Doble amongst others. I mean, that was one win to consider. And I get the feeling after that you're thinking, you know what, I want some more in race number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I did try and play a little bit safe because obviously I recognise there's different classes, and I've not had a great performance in this season, so I saw it was a chance for big points. But yeah, I did want to obviously get a podium in either of those races. Yeah, I think I messed up race 2. I just sort of touched the gravel a little bit and ran wide and left the door open, and it's such a hard track to get by cleanly and safely as well. So it's, yeah, once you've kind of gotten behind someone, it's tricky to make progress again.
I see. And well, in the end, having to relinquish the hunt for what was a P6 in race number 2 overall, but still another overall win. And just to add to that as well, something perhaps we haven't talked about is that your teammate Stuart Winus, who takes the, I believe he takes the Pro-Am Championship lead as a result of the rounds, subject to Stuart's inquiries. But a 1-2 from the pair of you in races 1 and 2, it's a dream result for the team.
Yeah, I think it just shows as a kind of team, Track Scotland, we've done a lot of laps around here. It's one of the tracks that we're having a sort of fun night on iRacing. It's the track we would probably pick an obscure car type to go with. So yeah, probably lots of laps has helped that out.
Well, the laps have definitely paid off, but unfortunately it couldn't be quite a fairy tale evening because in race number 3, an early instant sent you all the way to the back of the running order.
Yeah, I left the door open in the hairpin, and maybe I should have been a bit tougher. I didn't want to get involved in it, and again, maybe I could have left a little bit more room, and we wouldn't have had that contact with Wayne. And then obviously, still running quite well. I think I was maybe P3 in class at that point when maybe 5 laps to go, and yeah, I think me and Meredith had just a little bit of a coming together, which ended my race there. But yeah, I can't complain. It was a fun night.
Oh, it definitely sounds like you had a lot of fun out there. I can hear it in your voice. And well, we've still got 4 more rounds to go. An absolutely brilliant day here at Knockhill today. In a week's time, we head to Canada for the Montreal Street Circuit, or Hybrid Street Circuit, I should say, of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. How are you feeling for it?
Well, unlike Nürburgring, I know where it goes, so that's a start. But yeah, I actually do quite like that track. I haven't really probably used the TCR around there, but yeah, I think it's maybe got some traits that's similar to this track, so it'll be interesting.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing what magic you can make happen in Montreal in a week's time. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
just thanks to you guys for putting this on. It's credit to you guys for how intense the competition is and how real it feels when you're in the midst of a race. So yeah, top job by you guys.
Well, Kieran, from a top job from us, we have to say a top job for yourself as well. Congratulations once again on back-to-back wins in the Pram class and absolutely stellar run of performances tonight. Whilst it may not have been perfect, I think you'll be the envy of many in the Pram class, and hopefully we get to see more of that in Montreal. But until then, thank you very much for joining me in the interview room, and have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, Paul. See you next week.
So hearing there from Kieran Smart, the prime driver in the 39th and Track Scotland, and talking there about the fact that he and his teammates at Track Scotland, this being their home circuit and a circuit they absolutely love, all the laps have absolutely been accrued here throughout their time on the simulator service, and well, all that practice definitely has paid off. And he did caveat his performance, to be fair, with the fact that he didn't carry any success ballast into this round, but still, even so, I would say, even if he had some success ballast in the car, or his rivals didn't and he didn't, I get the feeling it was really going to be Kieran Smart's night to beat tonight. Perhaps minus his teammate Stuart Winus, who definitely was also there with him in terms of pace. And we saw it in qualifying, we saw it in races 1 and 2. Very unfortunate in race number 3. And so that initial nudge down the order after the contact with Wayne Douglas, and then later on that contact with Alex Meredith. But things like that happen. I do believe the two drivers have already had a bit of a chat about it. I'm not sure if it will go to at Stewart's review, but one thing that definitely can be said is it's all a learning experience. And well, with 2 1-2s from the team, I can tell you one thing, it's been a huge boost of points for both drivers, the former Kieran Smart and Stuart Winus, and also for their team's championship aspirations. But focusing on Kieran, also talking there about the fact that looking ahead to Montreal and looking forward to it, I'm not going to carry that momentum forward, but knowing it has been a little bit of a rough season so far, and this was an evening to be savoured. Now we come on to what is our final interview of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be hearing it from none other than Mikey Doble, our 3-time champion, as he gets ready to join me. And well, as he does so, we're going to be hearing from his perspective on what has been a very successful night in terms of keeping it all together, and we're making sure that his rivals have not been able to gain too much ground, as he now joins me in the interview room. Good evening to you, Mikey. And well, what can I say other than what a way to give yourself a lead in the championship. 3 great races, despite a lot of success ballast, and an Audi which many reckon today wasn't going to be that competitive, but you demonstrated just how competitive it could be.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, I was kind of dreading the evening a little bit after seeing the practice pace of myself and all the other Audis. Definitely seemed like it wasn't the car to have tonight. But with the track limits being so tight round here, I thought if I could just put in a clean qualifying lap, nothing special, then I might still manage to get myself a good result. And it was all about the qualifying. Once you got a good qualifying, it's so hard to pass around here. At that point, with my championship rivals a bit further down, I was going to be in for a pretty good evening to be able to give myself a bit of a gap again in the championship after an awful round last week.
Well, indeed, and to that point, obviously an awful round at the Nürburgring. Meanwhile, your main title rival for the season, seemingly Jaroslaw Cebula, had a phenomenal day at the Nürburgring. But today, the shoe was on the other foot. You managed to make it 3 top 5 performances back-to-back. Meanwhile, Jaroslaw really struggling. I get the feeling this Knockhill circuit is one perhaps you really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we shouldn't ignore the fact that perhaps my real life experience around this track has helped me salvage a little bit of pace tonight from the not so trusting Audi. But you know, it's a unique track. You know, laps matter around here, and I've certainly done plenty of laps around this track. So yeah, just had to drive through the problem and kind of just make the best of what I had. I mean, it definitely looked like the Velosters were on form tonight, the car to have, and it's just good to see that different tracks come to different cars, and that's what having a multi make championship is all about. It'd be boring if everyone was the same.
Oh, 100% with you on that, and you definitely made sure to liven things up with the Audi at the front of the field. And coming a little bit on to qualifying, one of the big questions perhaps we need to ask is the fact with so many cars out on the circuit. I mean, we had 49 cars, well, about 45, I should say, on a 1.26 mile circuit. If you do the rough maths, that's not much mileage per car out there, but you still managed to find a lap to put your P5 overall. I mean, just how do you find the lap?
Well, it's pot luck, really. I mean, that's why you wouldn't be allowed to have 45 cars around Knockhill in real life for that exact reason. But the three of us said when we come out and qualifying that we were going to have to get a lap in early, get a banker in, because you can't guarantee what's going to happen once all the field starts spreading out around the track. So I think I managed to get my fastest lap in on lap 3 or 4 maybe of the session. And then even after a pit stop for new tyres, once the field started getting spread out and there's gravel being dragged all on the track everywhere, because that's the other big factor is in practice there was so much loose gravel on the track, which is obviously a new feature of iRacing now, that it actually affects the grip levels on the surface. So getting that lap in early while the track was still in a clean state was also key to getting a good result.
Oh, without a doubt. So getting in an early lap, and it boded well going into the races. Speaking of which, started P5 in race 1, finished P3 overall. We saw you batting your way hard, but it looked as though come the midpoint of the race, it was more about then holding on to P3 than it was trying to chase down Wayne Douglas and Dan Mole to the win. Yeah,
absolutely. I really enjoyed race 1. You know, I fully understood my position on the track, that I didn't have enough pace to comfortably sustain that P3, but it made for a great race, because every time I looked in the mirror there must have been about 10 to 15 cars bumper to bumper following me into the hairpin. But no, me and I can't remember the guy I was battling with now, I think it was Kieran Smart maybe, we swapped positions probably 4 or 5 times during that race and it was all clean. So that was a really good race, and I was pleased to hold them off for 22 laps. But yeah, it was definitely a feature of the Audi tonight, is that I felt as though the gearing wasn't quite right for the circuit in that car. As we know, it runs a different gearbox to the other cars, and with that second to last corner, there's just not the right gear selection for that corner in the car. So as the tyres start to go off, the car just bogs down too much, and then you get really poor exits out of that corner onto the next straight. But managed to hold on for race 1.
Indeed, no, brilliant battling between yourself and Kieran Smart. Definitely one of the highlights over the course of today, and we saw plenty of it on the broadcast. In fact, we couldn't take our eyes off of it, and more could be said of not being able to take our eyes off of battling between yourself and other drivers, including Wayne Douglas in race number 2, albeit a bit of an unfortunate end to miss out on a podium.
Yeah, again, it was a similar race really. I was making good progress, got up to P2, was kind of holding on to the back of Dan Mould, but then again, as the tyre wear started to kick in, I just didn't have the pace to keep up with Dan, and then it became a race of holding position again. Obviously, we all know that Wayne is one of the more exciting and aggressive drivers in the championship, and yeah, I was kind of going into each corner with one eye shut, one eye in the mirror, seeing what was happening. But yeah, unfortunately, the lunge into McIntyre's was kind of a Tim Harvey on Gabriele Tarquini back in 1994 or whatever it was, when it sent him tumbling into the weeds. So luckily for me, it was a better result than that, and I only lost a couple of positions. And to be fair to Wayne, he did pull over and let me have the position back, but unfortunately I dropped down to 4th. But the main championship rivals again were beaten, and there was distance between me and them, so it wasn't all a disaster.
No, very true. And then coming on to race number 3, a top 17 at reverse grid. And normally in these reverse grid races, with the ballast in the car, we do see drivers who finish inside the top 5 in race 2 really struggle in race number 3. But for yourself today, it looked like in race number 3, it was almost as if it was just business as usual from race number 2. And come the end of it, a P5, and not just that, a great photo opportunity for you and your brothers, because the 3 of you finished in order from 5th through to 7th.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did have a little bit of a helping hand from my teammates, aka my brothers, in that race. Not sure I gave them much of a choice, but basically Joseph's out the championship fight, so let me have the position. But no, he was. No, they were both very sporting in that race, and Isaac didn't make it too difficult for me when I caught them up as well. But I think Knockhill, I don't think that the ballast made so much of a difference around this circuit. I think the Audi just wasn't a good car for the circuit, but the car didn't seem to change lap time too much, whether I was carrying full ballast or or P4 ballast really, unlike some of the other circuits. I think it's more about precision and skill around this track to being able to do a repetitive lap and picking your line when you're going through some of these difficult chicanes and that. You know, it's not a lot of corners where you're kind of getting right down to a slow speed and having to carry the car out the corner, apart from obviously the hairpin at the final corner. But then, as we know, the Audi is a strong car in a straight line, so I didn't feel like the weight was a massive issue tonight. I thought the suspension, the dampening definitely needs a little bit of work on the Audi for the next update if they want to make it better around Knockhill. But like I say, hopefully when we go to Gilles Villeneuve next week, long straights, we should be a little bit more in our element.
Well, we're just about to come on to that in terms of fancying your chances at Gilles Villeneuve, and of course keeping in mind provisionally after the 3 races today, you're now back in control at the top of the championship. However, I suspect you're already thinking it's about round to round right now, because yourself and Jaroslaw keep exchanging the lead from each round as we move deeper and deeper into this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see in seasons gone by that when we get into the second half of the season, that normally you can see your runners and riders that are actually going to contend for the title, and it's probably narrowed down to 2, 3, maybe 4 drivers that are got a realistic chance of winning the title this season. But we've seen in rounds gone by where can be such a big point swing sometimes if you have a bad evening. The difference between winning a race and coming outside the top 30 is 65 points now. So potentially, you know, if my math serves me correct, there's 195 points on the table that could go amiss if you have a bad evening. So yeah, all not is done yet, but if we can have another evening next week like we had tonight, then it might start to make that final round at Bathurst seem a little bit more relaxing, considering some of the dramas we saw last week in the endurance race.
Oh, indeed, and we look forward to seeing whether you can start to give yourself that comfort buffer at Montreal in a week's time. But still, that's then and here and now. Just before we do let you go, Mikey, I mean, I also have to ask, how does it feel racing Knockhill on the simulator compared in real life? Because many will know you for the infamous on 2 wheels clip through the chicane that's been multiple times on the BTCC Instagram. I mean, does it feel just like you're actually out there, or are there some slight differences? What's it like?
Yeah, funny you should say that. I had confirmation at the Autosport show this week that particular clip is the most viewed and most engaged, most successful BTCC post in the history of the championship. So I feel quite honoured to be a feature of that. But yeah, you mentioned how the simulator compares to the real life. I'd say the muscle memory and the rhythm of going around the circuit is spot on. It's exactly the same as going around in real life. The feeling you get in the wheel going down through Duffer's Dip and into McIntyre's and then coming up through the chicane. The thing is with Knockhill is that the real life curbs change year on year depending on what their plan is really. I mean, the last 2 years we've gone to Knockhill, the chicane curbs have been totally different. So the scan of Knockhill on iRacing is from about 4 or 5 years ago, when the curbs were a little bit lower, so you was able to kind of take much more curb through some of the corners, whereas now if you tried to take the line we were doing through the chicane in real life, you wouldn't have a splitter left. So yeah, it is a little bit different in that sense, but the muscle memory and the kind of rhythmic aspect of going around the track being such a short lap, it's pretty close, I'd say. But then again, a TCR car is not quite the beast of a NGTC British touring car, as much as many people out there in the TCR world would like to think that it's a comparable machine. But I can tell you, as someone that's driven both, it is not.
That's absolutely fair. We really appreciate the insights for yourself, Mikey. But with that, and just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, I've got my roll call ready to go as usual. So yourself for an amazing broadcast. Look forward to watching that later or tomorrow. Now it's quite late. To any family that's still awake watching the broadcast, hope you enjoyed the racing. work colleagues, any friends that have tuned in as well. As always, it's welcomed. And then obviously to everyone at NXTGEN, Jamie, the incredibly hard work he puts in to maintain this ever-growing touring car league. It's probably up there within the top 2 or 3 now best touring car leagues in the country, which is an amazing feat. And also I've got to give a shout out to Patrick Falconer, Paddy Falconer as we know him, Falconer PCs. He's built me a brand new gaming PC for my rig, which I've debuted tonight competitively. I'm not the most technical person in the world when it comes to PCs, I don't mind saying myself, so I left it all in his capable hands to come up with a machine. I just said that I want a machine that will give me the absolute best experience on iRacing and be able to run the graphics as good as I can have them. And I can tell you now, my 32-inch triple monitors that I'm running have never looked better. So yeah, thanks to him. And if anyone else wants a hassle-free gaming PC build, then he's got his link in the Discord. Send him a message, and I'm sure he'll be happy to deal with you.
Oh, fantastic. And so glad to hear that the Falconer PC's build that you've been running tonight has all worked well. And, well, it does seem to have given you a little bit of an edge, even if it is in spirit. But with that, Mikey, thank you for joining me in the interview room this evening. It's always great to hear from you, and well done on that great set of results. We look forward to plenty more at Canada in a week's time. But until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
So here and there from our last interview of the day, Mikey Doble, our pro class driver from Doble Sim Racing. An interest there to hear about his insights with regards to Knockhill in reality versus in the simulator, and saying the feeling of the rhythm and the flowing sections such as coming through Duffers in towards McIntyre's, feeling much like in reality, but because the curves change year in, year out, that's where the difference is compared to the scan that we see in iRacing. But still using that real life experience in order to be able to perhaps give himself a bit of a comfort zone versus the challenges of the Audi RS3. We got to see Mikey today really pull out a great set of results to offset a difficult day last time out of the Nürburgring and really compound what has been the woes for his rivals in the championship hunt. And well, could this be the round that really makes the difference? And he mentioned there, and a very interesting, quite an open moment there to say about the fact that he's looking to try and give himself as much comfort as possible before going to Bathurst for the season finale, through concerns that he could see a repeat in the results from the Nürburgring in round number 5. When if so, you can imagine that at Montreal in a week's time, it's going to be Mikey Doble bringing the best possible package he can, even though he's leading the championship going there provisionally, because of the simple reason he doesn't want to go to Bathurst with a lot of pressure on his mind when his rivals could capitalise should things go wrong over the 2 races. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews for this evening. So we've heard there from, firstly, Dylan Hunter from DH Racing in the AM class, the number 26 driver. We also heard from the number 39 driver of Kieran Smart from Track Scotland in the Pro-Am class. And we've just heard from Mikey Doble, the number 88 driver of Doble Sim Racing in the Pro class. Thank you to all of them for their time this evening. It's always great to hear from drivers up and down the running order, and well done to all 3 of them on their great performances today. And we hope to see plenty more from them in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, that now makes us wonder the question: what did the provisional championship standings look like after 6 rounds? Well, we start off with the Oval Drivers Championship, and as we can see here, after round 6 at Knockhill International, Mikey Doble is back into the lead, and that lead is by quite a significant margin. The best part there of what is none other than 74 points. The swing has been absolutely monumental after this round when drop scores are applied, and Jaroslaw Cebula will now find himself confronted with a task, which is he's got to strike back in Montreal. If he doesn't, then Doble could start to build up a lead that could become difficult to assail come the final couple of rounds, if not the season finale. Meanwhile, to the point that Mikey did make, and indeed we were talking about it at the start of today's programme, it does look as though it's becoming more and more a 2-horse race between Mikey Doble and Jaroslaw Cebula for the title, with Adam Delmont in P3 holding on by only 2 points over the rising charge of William Guthrie And then Jamie Dory falling to P5 on 478 points, with Dan Mould now leaping his way into P6 after those 2 wins. If anything, any of these drivers are outsiders now for the championship title, and should they be able to put an absolute brilliant string of results together over the next 2 to 3 rounds, and Doble and Cebula both have difficult days at the office, well, we could see things completely turn around, but it is starting to look as though it's a battle for the win between the top 2, and then a battle for P3 between the rest of the running order. And in that running order, Andrew Pike, after a difficult day today, he falls to P7, but 9, it's not representative of what he can do at the office, and Benjamin McCluskey once again finds himself with a middling set of results to move to P8, ahead of Nick Clearings and Ben Altria, but not by much. Outside the top 10, leading Pro driver is now Stuart Wynis into P11 on 369 points, ahead of Lee Horn by 17, and Isaac Dole falls to P13, with Alex Meredith and Daniel Downing completing the top 15. Then coming on to the Pro-Am class, and here we can see for the Pro-Am top 15, provisionally Stuart Wynis has now moved into lead by only what is 9 points over Reece Watt, but 9 points or 1, Wynis now tops the table for the first time this season, and I think there's going to be a big smile on his face as the Track Scotland driver knows that the pressure will now be on, but it's a place he's been trying to chase for all season long. Reece Watt falls to P2 in a little bit of a difficult round of racing today, but still 9 of those points have come in and they could prove critical as he looks to try and take the title back. Sam Van Oel sits in P3, and what could have been, given the way the results went in the final race of the day versus earlier on in the day, but still it's Track Scotland's day at the office in races 1 and 2, and Van Oel's capitalised in race number 3 where it mattered in order to bring himself into P3. Ben Gregory falls to P4 after a difficult race number 3, not quite backing up his result in race number 2, and Russell Fowler as well after a great race 1, a frustrating race number 2, but a recovering race 3 means he's picked up some decent points, but now finds himself caught between a rock and a hard place, with only 14 points between him and Ben Gregory, but conversely only 11 points between him and close rival Matthew Cheverton. Kieran Smart sits in P7, knowing that the difficult results earlier in the season, as he admitted in his interview, means he's out of the championship hunt, or at least in theory he feels he is, but still to be in P7 after results today, when it moves him a long way up the order with those 2 wins, and Michael Lees falls to P8 with Alan McCain just behind him, and Sam Smith completing the top 10. Outside the top 10, it's Lewis Delmont best rest P11 by the best part there, 23 points over Sam Bradley, with Duncan Rise, Toby Prosser and Jake Pitt completing the top 15 prime standings. Well, then comes the AM Drivers' Championship, and provisionally Marcel Fritsch leads, but look at that, the difficulty today for Marcel Fritsch after his win in race 1, but difficulties in races 2 and 3 means his advantage has been slashed, and Gabriel Yilmaz once again closes the gap to only 12 points. Jonathan Collins taking the win on the final race means that he's not quite distant in P3, but still that is a sizable gap there of the best part of what is 83 points that he needs to look to close down on Marcel Fritsch, and knowing that Josh Brown falls to P4 after a difficult day once again, and for Brown now things have got to turn around at Montreal, as otherwise he could fall out of the hunt. Sammy Ariba, keeping a cool head, managed to put together a great result in race number 3, and that added to races 1 and 2 means he moves to P5 ahead of Kevin Smith by only 4 points. Next, Lewis Mason P7 ahead of Mark Sykes, with Eduardo Gonzaga not on the grid today, moving to P9, and Sean Dobie rises into the top 10. Andy Chell in his absence, and we hope he gets well soon, falls to P11, best of the rest, but is ahead of Craig Tillerson still by the best part there of 32 points. Next, Dylan Hunter, Jonathan Berry, Gabriel Papaconstantou and Mark Kent, who complete the AM Championship standings. Then coming on to the Teams Championship, NXTGEN Pink continue to lead, and their advantage continues to stand tall. And look at that for the points gained between the top 3 teams. NXTGEN Pink managed to make up the delta in races 1 and 2, whereas their rivals, meanwhile, very equal in the points they gained, with SO and NXTGEN Gold getting a slight edge there in race number 3 over Doble Sim Racing, but there's nothing between the 2 teams and the points they scored minus that slight edge, and it means that hunt for P2 right now is becoming the bigger story rather than the chase for the lead. Full Tilt B Motorsport as well, they hold on to P4, they're only the best part of 54 points adrift, well, in fact, yes, 54 points, we've got a master right the first time round, and Goldwyn Motorsport, meanwhile, now fall a bit further back in P5. But the battle for P5 rages on, with Goldwyn Motorsport leading the charge, head of the Sim Racing Collective, NextGen Orange Whiskey Runners, iRace Esports, and then noticing P9 and P10, Track Scotland have moved back ahead of Aztec Racing, with Track Scotland's results today really outweighing those of Aztec Racing, but will it be the case in Montreal? Well, that's a recap of the championship standings, provisionally after round number 6, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Next Gen Racing community, or how you could be on the grid for a future series or an ongoing series, including the NXTCC, well, for all that and more, do head to our website, and that's www.nextgenracing.co.uk. And as our website appears on screen now, where it's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and as we continue to extend our run of running sim racing leagues into 2025, there's never been a better time to become part of the Next Gen Racing community. All the information of how you can become part of the community is on our official website, including a link to our official Discord, where you can get to the very beating heart of the Next Gen Racing community. But if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, well, you can of course join the official Next Gen Racing Facebook group, and that's at www.facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out a little bit more about the guys and girls who make up the Next Gen Racing staff and administration, including what they do not just on the virtual racing circuit, but also on the real life racing circuit, where a number of our staff members being track marshals, if not real life racing drivers. We'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, who include PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Only Racing, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and last but not least, of course, our title sponsor for this season, Doble Motorcycles. And if you're looking to get your hands on what is a racing machine, or indeed a road legal machine, I should really say, on 2 wheels, and you want it to be powered by the power of dreams that is Honda, then look no further than Doble Motorcycles. Because given the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, as Mikey continues to chase glory in the BTCC, where you can be certain you are going to be receiving excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag from what is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. So if you'd like to know more, do check out their website, that's doble.co.uk today, for all information with regards to Doble Motorcycles, and make your next 2-wheel machine one powered by the power of dreams. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we turn our attentions to a week's time, and on Tuesday the 21st of January 2025, the circuit Jules Villeneuve will welcome our drivers to its hybrid street circuit in the Notre Dame Park. For many, it is a circuit which is reckoned to be an Audi stronghold, given its straights and its acceleration zones. But could we see some surprises, as Jules Villeneuve always serves them up, and at this time of year, the weather is anything but predictable. Come join us in a week's time to see how round 7 unfolds as this championship starts to move towards its conclusion. But until then, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.